My head is buried in my phone. I hear this lady scream, and she's running through this crowd. Somebody stop him, he's gonna kill me. And I look over and I see this man chasing her, holding 2 large butcher-style kitchen knives, one in each hand. Those are real knives, and I'm running after this guy. Tackle this guy onto the ground, and now this guy's actively trying to fight us. He's biting, he's headbutting, he's doing all these other things. We start rolling around. He's trying to scan, he's still trying to look for her. And at that point, muscle memory, I go down and I lift my shirt up to go get my off duty,
And it's not there.
and it's not there. Without a doubt, you are going to get cut. So when it happens, you're not in shock. It's going to happen.
We're going to have a good conversation today. This one's going to be a little bit different on law enforcement. We like to give a lot of guys like to come on and talk about their times in law enforcement. A lot of it ends in a negative way. You spent 20 years in law enforcement. You've worked in multiple different units, from SWAT to undercover and an instructor, all kinds of different things. You are a very active by looking at your ears. You're a guy that I probably would not cross paths with in the bar at any point.
I don't go to bars, so
Yeah.
I try not to.
Exactly, right? And so you obviously are a very experienced in the ground jiu-jitsu fighting world, which is a huge tie into it that I think a lot of law enforcement officers either need to get into or to do a little bit more. During these 20 years while you're serving your city and state, you kind of realize like there's more to life in a different identity than the badge and wearing a badge. And that was more realizing that you've dedicated your life to this department and have kind of neglected or not given your family the attention they needed over the years. I really want to dig into that because it's something that I feel a lot of officers, a lot of law enforcement, military, athletes, guys that are consumed by something their whole entire life. We put everything on the back burner until it's too late. And then by the time we retire, by the time we're walking away, by the time we're burned out, you've already burned all your bridges with your wife, your family, your however many marriages these guys are on. And you've been married for 18 years. 19, I mean, how long have you guys been together?
18 years.
Okay, which is, I feel, a huge accomplishment in the law enforcement world to make a marriage last your whole entire career in about wall
It's not
raising.
easy, yeah, for sure, man.
Absolutely not easy. And having 4 children, you know, you got one son, but you got a bunch of daughters. So I know how that is. That's a house full of just craziness. And I'm sure you and your son,
estrogen.
at least you got a son, man. Even my dog's a girl. So it's, I'm outnumbered in every way. So, well, before we get started, dude, we're going to send you home with a fresh loaf of sourdough from our little one's bakery, which is the Sour Bee, every week.
I'm actually excited for that.
You should be. Yours is being baked at this moment. So you get a fresh hot loaf.
Okay, good.
And I'm going to send you home with a really cool tank. This was Chris. He is the owner of Linear. He went through BUDS, all the Navy SEAL training, ended up getting injured right at the end, had to figure out life after that, put everything into it. And so he started this very incredible high-end apparel company. It's some of the greatest gear that I wear. And he gives it to all of us to give to the guests and to help you all out. I'm going to send you home with a Wild Chaos tee. And so,
Perfect.
dude,
Thank you.
I really want to jump into this conversation, but a different angle from a lot of my law enforcement conversations. It's just, I want to get the perspective, what it's actually like. And you kind of had a different career. You enjoyed your time, you know, in your city that you served, and you had nothing negative. And so, but from the department, but the negatives from the PTSD, dealing with deaths, dealing with trauma, the day in and day out, what the toll is on officers. And you had this like awakening that, hey, we need to start preparing ourselves before we retire, before we're 19, 20 years in and starting to just think about this. And so this is I think going to be a really good conversation for a lot of young law enforcement officers and people that are potentially looking to join the law enforcement community as a career, to get your perspective on, hey, I had a great career, but it still was a very rough time personally, family, everything else that goes into it. So Absolutely. True fashion, dude, who are you and where are you from?
Dennis Wardle. I'm originally from Los Angeles County. However, I was raised in Orange County, predominantly Garden Grove, which is the city that I work for. And to be honest, I had a very, very basic childhood. Nothing too exciting. I knew from an early on, I did know from early on that I always wanted to be a cop. It's
Why is
just a
that?
passion. You know what? Growing up, the interaction that I had with law enforcement growing up to me was positive, especially in the environment, in the neighborhood that I grew up in.
Okay.
And the area that I grew up in, it was predominantly run by gangs, and there were pockets of it was just bad pockets, especially in that area. And the high school that I went to was very heavily gang infested.
Okay.
And so for me, kind of growing up in that environment, those were the people that I knew. And I mean, they were the only people that I knew.
Like, you didn't get sucked into the gang life at all?
No.
Interesting.
My brother did run with that crowd, but for whatever reason, and most of those guys were actually my friends. They were friends, and that I that's all I knew. And so whenever I interact with, a local cop that patrolled that particular area, to me, it was always a positive experience. And it was kind of like a breath of fresh air, if you want to call it that. So early on, I'm like, okay, these guys are kind of different, right? They're helping people. I never experienced any kind of the bad side to law enforcement. And I think right there, that's what kind of intrigued me, and that's what kind of got my interest. And after that, it was just like, I kind of followed that path. I was kind of a straight and narrow kid, to be honest with you. And it's fun. Like, all my buddies were kind of rough around the edges. And to be honest with you, I was kind of like the dorky kid in the group. And I was fine with that. To be honest with you, I was fine with that.
Yeah.
And I grew up around these guys. One of them, one of my best friends, Ronald, became a Muay Thai fighter. My other buddy, Daniel, was a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu within like 7 years. These guys are scrappers. Like, they just grew up in that environment.
Yeah.
And so I was just always around those guys, and I felt protected. And I got into my share of fighting and stuff, but it wasn't as much as what I was surrounded with.
Okay.
So,
You said your brother, real quick, you said your brother got tied into that. How was that? Okay, so how was your household growing up? Were your mom and dad together?
my man, yeah.
Okay, so you're kind of the nerdier brother. Your brother's more crazier brother is what I'm taking from this. Yeah. So is it weird watching your brother kind of get pulled into that path as you're kind of looking at cops and like, oh, this is a great maybe career path and something that I want to do in a positive way, and then your brother is almost, you guys are splitting. What's the year gap, age difference?
3 years.
Are you older or younger?
Older.
Oh, so he's watching his brother go down a good path, and then he's choosing to hang out with the gang members and start to go down that path?
Yeah.
Was that interesting to watch? Like, did you watch a progression of him getting sucked deeper into that life?
I did. Yeah. And my brother was kind of like, he was the life of the party. He's a guy that had a bunch of friends.
Okay.
Everybody wanted to be around him. If you look at him and you look at me, you're like, dude, that guy's like, he's got it. Like, he's tatted up, big dude, wasn't afraid of anybody. And so he kind of just got, he kind of fit that mold, and he just got caught up in that lifestyle. He's not like that anymore. Right now, we're best friends.
That's good.
Like, I mean, it's completely different now, but he kind of got sucked in. And, for me, I kind of realized early on, like, hey, this wasn't really for me. I'm not digging this. I don't like where it was headed. And I would look at a lot of these older guys who were living that lifestyle, and they didn't really have anything going for themselves.
Yep.
And so they still lived at home. And for me, I was like, I didn't want that.
Well, that's kind of what pulls that whole entire gang affiliation with young guys is just, it's like they don't have really much in their life going on, and then they get pulled into this group and family and community, and it's almost sold that this is where we always got your back. And so those That's kind of like a good way of sucking dudes in, and before you know it, it's too late. You're in it.
And you know, a lot of those guys, man, a lot of those kids, they grew up without a father figure, right? And they grew up with broken homes. And for me, in my friend group, I was probably the only kid that had both their parents together. I was the only kid that had a father who was in my life.
Okay.
Like, he was engaged, and at the time, I didn't like it. I hated it.
Always.
You know, I hated it at the time. Looking back, I was like, oh my gosh, man, like he did everything right. He did everything that he should have done. But at the time, I didn't know any better, right? And so I would see all these other kids who had so much freedom, that can do pretty much whatever they wanted. Whereas for me, I was like, my dad was heavily involved and engaged in my life. And I think that's why I was and I was more so afraid of him too, because he was a retired Marine, and he was very strict and rigid, and he was always in my business. And at the time, like I said, I hated it. He was a guy that would tuck I think I told you earlier, he would tuck his T-shirt inside his pants. In his khakis. He wore a T-shirt.
Not that Marine. I made fun of those Marines. I'd get my ass chewed for not tucking mine in. I know who your dad was. But yeah. Say no more.
Yeah, so he was that guy. So I think I was just kind of deathly afraid of him, right? Whereas my brother wasn't, but he was still all over both of us. But my brother was kind of rebellious. He didn't really care about that.
So how did your dad process that? He's got, okay, I got the good son, and then I got the son that's going finding his way with the gang life and all that, and him being this retired hard Marine. Was that a lot of feuding in the house? Did that push your brother out of the house?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. And my dad tried, man. My dad was all over both of us, but my brother kind of, I think he just got lost in that world.
For sure.
And he was heavily influenced by everything that was going on around him, and then, he started using drugs. He started kind of going down that route. And obviously, and then after that, it was kind of lost cause, but it wasn't, because eventually he ended up kind of gaining his life back and realizing all the damage that he's caused.
For sure.
And he completely, like, if you talk to him now, he's like a drug counselor now, but he completely turned his life around. But at one point, I mean, he should have been dead. Like, he almost died a few times.
Okay, so while you're going the cop route, your brother's going the gang route, were you a cop while he was still in that life?
No. So I went off to college.
Okay.
My dad the moment that I expressed to my dad that I wanted to be a cop, he was against it.
Really?
Yeah, he got upset the moment I mentioned it, and he kind of knew I had that itch, and he wasn't for it, man. Like,
did you ever explain why?
Yeah, because he was like, hey, listen, like, I spent years kind of in that road of, living that lifestyle, being a Marine. He grew up in New York, and he, was from a rough area, and he's like, you're going to college, you're getting a good job in finance, in business. You're not gonna put your life in danger and all this other stuff. So, but secretly, deep down inside, I had this itch,
You weren't gonna let him stop you.
No.
Okay.
And so I did go off to college. I did go off to school. And that's when my brother was still kind of heavily involved in that life.
Yeah.
And so I majored in finance and accounting. And little did my dad know this entire time, it's not really something that I want to do. I was pretty good at it. Like, I'm good with numbers and stuff, but it wasn't my passion.
Okay.
It's not something that I
At least you were mature enough at that age to realize.
Yeah.
Did you finish your degree in it? Oh, yeah.
I did.
Said you got a degree in
Yeah.
business
So
and
I
finance.
finished my degree, and then I went off to work in the finance industry.
How was that?
It was miserable. It was miserable. Like, the money.
Yeah, shocker.
The money was good. Like, the money was good, but and it was like, it's funny because on my way to work in finance, I would drive by patrol officers, right? And I would put blinders on because it would remind me of what I wanted to do.
This deep
burning
rooted,
desire. Yeah. So
how many years from college graduation, you got your degree, you go into business, finance, whatever. At that stage of your life, how long were you putting the blinders on before you were like, okay, I can't do this anymore?
Oh man. How long? So I would say maybe from that time, maybe 7 years.
Oh, no shit.
Yes. 18 to like mid 20s, and then that's when I decided like, okay, dude, I gotta follow my dream.
Well, okay. So what was your breaking point that you weren't living the corporate world anymore and you wanted to be a cop?
I decided that I'm going to do what I wanted to do. And I decided that I wanted to follow my passion. So I started to throw my applications out there and not telling anybody. I kept that a secret for a long time during that hiring process. I kept that a secret forever. And I remember I was going through backgrounds in the department that I'm working at now. And I was talking to my background investigator and I was like, he's like, hey, I'm gonna start talking to people. Like I have to do your background. So I was like, okay, just leave my dad and my parents for last. I don't want them to know because they had no idea what was going on.
And you're in your 20s at this point. So so you're in your mid 20s at least.
Yeah.
And you still don't want your parents to find out about this?
No.
Okay.
So a month goes by and I get a call from my background investigator and he goes, hey, have you told your parents yet about you applying? And I was, no. And he was like, well, I don't got time. I got to move on to other backgrounds. I'm going to visit your house tomorrow.
Oh, how did you take that?
Oh, dude, I freaked out. And and he's also, I would recommend that you tell your parents. So, oh man, I was just so nervous because I knew my dad was going to be disappointed. He was going to be pissed off. And, I remember sitting with both of them in the living room. And I was like, hey, I got to talk to you guys. Like, especially my dad. And I was like, hey, I got to tell you something. I said, I don't know how to put this. I don't know how to say this. But tomorrow, a background investigator is going to come talk to you. Because I'm applying for the police department. And I remember he looked at me and he goes, are you telling me that I spent all this time trying to get you to protect you and have a better career for you where you're not going to risk your life and possibly die? You're telling me all this time now we just wasted all this time? He got up and he walked away.
No shit.
Yeah. Yeah, he got up and walked away. And
how'd that feel?
Oh, it sucked, man. It sucked because I wanted his support and I wanted his I just wanted his support. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I wanted to make him proud.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's what all sons want to do.
Yeah. So he came back, but at the same time, I also knew that he was doing it because he loved me. So he came back later and he was like, hey, listen, after a while, he was like, hey, I support you. He goes, I love you. I wish you the best. And you got my full support. He goes, I just want you to be safe. That's it.
Okay. So, I mean, at least he came back and had some time to think on it. He had that typical knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah,
so. Yeah. I don't know how I would feel if my daughters came to me and were like, they're telling me they're joining the military or law enforcement. That would be a tough one for me.
Yeah.
But son, I feel is a little bit different because, if you want to go and serve and protect, like that's who,
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, as a daughter, I just.
Yeah, and you know what's, I would say the same thing to my kids too. Because they've brought it up to me, like, hey, Dad, how would you feel? And I'm like, no.
Okay, so that's a great question. So 20 years in law enforcement, would you support your kids going into law enforcement?
I would support them. Would I want that? No. Just because they're so creative and they could do anything that they want. They're a lot smarter than I am. Like my son, man, I love him to death. He goes to a private school. Like he's well ahead of the other kids that he went to elementary school with. and they just got so much. Not to say that law enforcement is not a good profession, but I just feel like they can do just so much more, right? And then at the same time, I'm not going to lie to you, like I would be worried.
Oh yeah.
I would be, especially in today's climate, you know, where when I first started, man, everybody loved cops, right? Like it was like the profession to be in, and it still is to me. I feel like being a cop is, to me right now, being a cop is probably one of the best professions that you could possibly be in.
That's
Because
and that's such a crazy statement, you know, because you ask 100 cops and you're getting 100 different responses on that. And it's very, at least for me and the people that apply and all the stories I hear, it's very seldom that,
yeah,
you know, to hear somebody like, man, I loved it. I had an incredible career. I feel the percentage of those cops are just consumed by the amount of guys that burned by the department,
Yeah.
dudes turning on them, good cop, bad cop, all the other bullshit that comes along with it. So it's good to hear that okay, man, I had an incredible 19, 20 years, served my community, but at the same time, you know what's going on out there, and it's hard for you to have to encourage your kids to go into law enforcement.
right. Just because it's, you know, it's different now, but I mean, it's also too like, yeah, you said there's cops that are kind of resentful for just everything that's happened. Whereas for me, I'm like, yeah, you have your bad days, you have your bad moments, but it's also like the way that you process it, and being a cop can teach you so much about yourself and about life. And you learn how to deal with it. You learn how to deal with people. You learn how to deal with difficult situations. And that to me just kind of makes you a better person, makes you a human being if you know how to use it correctly.
Absolutely. Definitely. It's a huge skill to have.
Oh, it's a huge, right? And not a lot of people get that experience.
Nope.
So for me, I'm like, hey, this is like the best job. And it serves a purpose. There's a real deeper purpose besides just the identity part.
It's interesting you say it like that. You know, there's a deeper purpose to it. But I feel and this is just me as a civilian, military guy. I feel a lot of cops don't ever find that purpose, or they spend their whole career chasing the purpose, and then they just lose it, and then they just become the version of themselves as a cop.
Yeah.
They forget about they forgot why they signed up initially, to protect, to serve their community, and then it just the toxic environment slowly rots and chips away at these guys, and they don't have purpose anymore. They're just a slave to the radio, domestic call, whatever it may be, complaints, bullshit, whatever, and then it just wears on these guys.
It takes a toll on them,
yeah. My image, you know, before this whole podcast, as a cop, I'm like, God, dude, like these guys just get to drive around. They're cruising all day. Oh, you ran a red light. Let's get them. You know, like there's a drug deal. Let's get it. You know, and then you start talking to these guys. They're like, dude, I'd spend weeks on end just going from call to call to call to call to call every day. It's just all they're doing in certain, you know, these crazy departments in these big cities. They're literally just slaves to every single thing. So I feel a lot of cops join to be a police officer, but they don't get to do any policing. It's just putting out fire, put it out fire,
Right.
and
Call to call.
and you're just a slave.
Just responding.
You're not actively hunting. You're not actively doing police work, because you're just on calls all day, and these guys get in there like, oh, this is horrible, you know. But it takes a few years to get to that point, and by the time they do that, they don't know if they should leave, stay in, you know. And then that's when that little mustard seed of animosity starts to build, because you hear stories of these guys. You look at the SWAT guys and the detectives and the undercovers, and then, you know, the narco dudes are like, oh, that's all badass stuff. But, you know, before they get to those steps, do you lose yourself in that time? Are those the guys that manage to get out of it at the right time? So there's so many different layers and depths to policing.
Right.
It's a very fascinating world.
Right. Because you got to ask yourself too, like, what's my deeper purpose in this whole thing? Right. And I think a lot of those guys, they get so caught up and they get so lost in the identity and the idea of being a cop.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, it's cool. Like, you know, before I started, man, it was all cool, man. The badge, the gun, the car, the uniform, all of that stuff. The identity. right? And you get so trapped in that, and then that's all that you're kind of chasing after. That's all you're chasing is just this identity and telling people that you're a cop, and you know, and in the center, and then it's just so self-absorbed too. Like the whole world revolves around you. Like, look at me, look at my problems. This is who I am. This is my identity. Woe is me, right? Whereas if you really constantly, if you think about constantly, hey, why is it that I'm doing this? Oh shoot, man, my job. Simply put, my job, and this is what I think about. Like, if you really think about it, my job is to serve and protect. That's it. And I know it sounds basic, right? But that's exactly what I keep in mind. Like, and I find purpose in doing that, and to serving people and helping people, because that's what your job is, to protecting. There's a lot to that.
Absolutely. But where is that translation lost, or where does that statement start to fade? Because you see so many videos. Obviously, we're only seeing the negative. We hardly ever see any of the positive shit put out about law enforcement officers. But are these departments, or should these departments be doing annual, this is your job. At the end of the day, your job is to protect and to serve. You don't need to be a tyrant. We're not out here harassing people, trying to push our authority. We're not being bullies. We need to work on de-escalating, and because, dude, we're living such a world now where you have cameras, everything's recorded. Everything's recorded, video, audio, and visual audio, whatever. Anyway, I stumbled on that one. But it's like, are they not doing this in these departments? Because you'll see something on these cops, and it's so blatant how they're speaking to people, their conversations, and how they're not even deep. You're escalating immediately, but that's the most basic statement that I've ever had a cop say. Like, my job is to protect and to serve. But I feel it's muddled along the way. It gets dissolves, you just forget, and then it's just a job. Like, how did you say this is my job to protect and serve for this whole entire length of your career? How did you not lose that, and all these other guys do?
Well, I did. Like, no, I'll tell you right now, Brian, there comes a point where you realize, like, dude, what am I doing? You know, because I got caught up in that, you know, early on. It was like, oh, this is who I am. And, you know, also too, like, we're all human beings, right? It's like when somebody who hasn't had a lot of money, who now all of a sudden now just wins the lotto, and they're a millionaire, they don't know how to deal with all that power, you know, and that pressure. So just being human beings, yeah, like we have, like a lot of guys have the right intention going in. Hey man, I'm gonna change the world. I'm gonna make this community a better place. But again, we're dealing with human beings, and cops are just as human as everybody else. Yep. And so we get lost in that. You know, we get lost in the shiny object. And you put that uniform on, now you get attention, and probably attention you've never gotten your entire life. You know, now guys who've never had a girlfriend now are getting women. You know what I mean? Yeah. They're getting power. Yeah. They have a badge gun. They're having some respect. People are listening to them. So absolutely. Now you lose sight of that purpose.
Because now you're building a different image of yourself.
Now you're building a different image of yourself, and you lose sight of that purpose quickly. And all of a sudden now you just go off, and now you're just like, nobody knows who you are. You don't even know who you are anymore. You know, you even lose sight of yourself because you're so caught up in this image. And after a while, once you've gotten in trouble so many times like I have, and I've gotten in trouble quite a bit, then you realize
on the department?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm not proud of it, but I mean, I'm glad I did. You know,
learn from it?
Yeah, I'm glad I did, because I learned from it, and it made me a better person. And then I finally realized, like, dude, why am I doing, like, why? Like, why did I join, or why did I become a police officer in the first place?
What was that moment, though, that made you rethink and come bring you back to grounding again?
And it wasn't a single moment. I think for me, it was just like gradually over the years, right? After seeing my family and not kind of seeing when they're at, where they're at in their lives. And then I wasn't really happy with myself, to be honest with you, man. I was like, dude, like, I'm just like, I don't feel right. And, you know, you see the impact, the negative in the, just like you've had positive impacts on people's lives, you also realize you've had negative impacts on people's lives.
Oh yeah.
And then once you realize that and you're like, oh my gosh, man, I've destroyed other people's lives because of my selfishness, you know, and
That's a big thing to try to compartmentalize, I guess, as a young adult. Even as an older one, it's I feel a lot of people probably would never go down that thought path of, man, I'm ruining a lot of lives, right? I'm being an asshole for no reason, which is putting more pressure on these people that are already at their lowest in these moments that I'm having an interaction with them.
Yeah.
Do I need to be approaching the situation at this level instead of if I could just walk in and treat everybody human? But then like that probably goes back to you talking like as the image of being a cop. It just, I got sucked into the military, man. Marines, you know, they're all
look at me. Yeah.
partying, women, just out of control. And then, you know, I got put in a job position where I'm traveling the world in my blues and with white pants and flags, and it's just this image. And then you have to live up to that. And it's just, before you know it, it's like, dude, what a douche.
Yeah.
You know, like, God, I was such a just.
But some people never have that realization.
Yeah.
They'll go through their entire career without realizing that and the impact that they've had, negative, you know, and they just, so, you know, for me, it was like when I started to see the fruit that I was bearing, right? Once I started to realize like, oh dude, wow, man, I caused all this. This was on me.
Everything in my life is negative.
Yes. You know, and then, you know, then you start to realize, holy crap, dude, this is not why I became a police officer.
Okay, so I guess let's jump into kind of your career a little ways. Like when did you join the department?
2005. Back in
2005. So what was it like being a cop back in 2005?
Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. This is before body cams.
every cop, I feel bad for the new cops that don't know what life is like without body cams, because you talk to any of the old school dudes and they say that was like the last real policing before body cams. But then you get the civilians are like, this is why we have body cams, because these guys are all pieces of shit, whatever. But that's where you can snatch kids up and people up and kind of like, you know, just... You know,
and you didn't have to worry about constantly being watched, right? And there's that.
Or how are you talking to somebody?
How you talk to somebody, and you could just focus on your job without really worrying about, oh man, am I saying the right thing? And then second guessing yourself because you don't want to look bad in front of your body cam, and then be out of policy and all that stuff. So it kind of just made, in a sense, kind of like your life easier, right?
I've heard this a lot. Like I've heard guys that have gotten in trouble just by like two cops talking, and then the department will go back through and just watch footage.
Yeah.
And they'll cuss, and they're getting written up for just cussing.
Yeah. Because it's against policy, of course, right?
Right. And so they're like, "What? That was a private conversation when it was on the cam. The cams were still rolling." They're like, "That had nothing to do with the scene, people. We're just talking." And guys have gotten written up for things like that. So So with having a body cam versus not a body cam, did you ever catch yourself hesitating, or was it checking you and knowing that you had to go through protocols, procedures, and things more correctly? I mean, did they help in a way, or did it kind of?
Well, initially, obviously, it's like you're gonna have growing pains.
Yeah,
you know, and it was like not a rough transition, but it's definitely a transition, right? There's growing pains to that because like I caught myself kind of like second guessing myself because I'm like, oh, dude, what am I doing, man? Like I'm second guessing myself, and it's actually it's an officer safety issue, you know, because I'm more worried about what, you know, my bosses are going to think when they see this, when they watch this body cam, rather than, hey, let me focus on the situation and how I can, you know, make this scene safe, and I can come to a safe conclusion and safely arrest this guy or do what I have to do to get the job done.
Yeah.
Rather than focusing on how I'm being perceived behind but somebody watching this body cam, you know. So
it's got to be a weird thing knowing your whole entire day is recorded every single step, every word. And then on top of that, like I have to do everything in this cookie cutter form that was been built by these admin that's sitting in their office. Now I'm having
in a controlled environment.
In a controlled environment. Now I can't step outside of this box that they've built for me. Is that pretty difficult?
Yeah, it is. But I will say this, Brian, is you realize it actually makes you a better person. It makes you a better cop, right? Like you're more aware of, you're like, oh shoot. And so over time, it polishes you up a little bit.
That makes sense for sure.
You know what I mean? Where you you stop using the profanity, you start learning how to communicate. And I think that's what the biggest thing for me is I started to learn how to communicate because I didn't have any other choice. I was like, okay, this is what it is now. I can't really control. There's nothing I can do about it. But now I just have to learn how to be a better cop, a safer cop, and more of a professional cop. Right. So I think it just
that makes sense. That makes sense. I talked to obviously a lot of cops, and I feel body cams are a great tool. This is how I look at it. You're gonna have your moments. There's gonna be days where you're irritated and maybe chirp back to somebody, whatever, at a stop. You don't know. I hearing all the cops and dealing with dead kids and people and suicides. I can't even imagine the weight that cops carry every single day. But you have these body cams on, and it shows everything now. So it shows if you are being that cop that's just being an asshole to people. But are the admin letting that go? Are they pushing back on you? So it should be I think it's a great tool. Like I'm against flock systems and being tracked everywhere. But if you're having an engagement with me, that I think I support 100% of cams because it just there's no getting out of and lying. So if the cop is making mistakes,
it's going to clearly show. Right?
And then, but if you're getting accused of stuff that didn't happen, obviously it's going to clearly show. So but at the end of the day, if you're a cop, a professionally trained peace officer, you shouldn't be worrying in the back of your head, oh fuck, this is going to get on camera. If you start thinking that, you're wrong. You're out of policy. You're pushing lines. But at the same time, not every single person you're interacting with is going to fall into that box and how to de-escalate. So there's this really weird world that you guys are put into that you have to follow the rules for people that are doing everything they can to not follow the rules. Yeah. And so there's this cat and mouse back in cowboy and Indian game where it's just back and forth where you're constantly having to try to catch this career criminal that his whole entire job is to lie to you and get out of trouble, and you're trying to follow laws. It's almost like the Geneva Convention for us, where everybody else could do whatever they want to us, but we're over in these foreign countries. We got to follow rules and war. So like that type of shit never makes sense.
Yeah, it's like you have to follow the rules. They don't have to follow the rules.
Yeah,
right. And
then the rules you're following is hindering you from being able to just chase somebody in a house, and you got to stop and get a warrant or whatever it may be. So things like that.
Yep. Yeah.
It's gotta be frustrating.
Oh, it definitely is frustrating, man. But like I said, you learn, and a good cop is gonna learn, and he's gonna polish himself up, right? He's gonna be like, okay, these are the things that I gotta work on, because he's gonna watch his body cam and he'd be like, dude, I look stupid. I can't believe I said that. I can't believe I was out of policy. Or so a good cop is gonna look at that and go, okay, these are the things that I gotta work on. This here is going to make me a better person.
How many cops are doing that though?
I wish more cops are doing that, but not a lot of cops do that.
See, and this is where it comes back that body cams, I almost feel that we should be using it during a probation period or a certain, like if they're going through your footage and you're constantly talking to people a certain way, you're just that cop, right? We all know, we've all had run-ins with that cop. But at the same time, it could have been in that cop's moment where he was just, I don't know his last call, right? I always try to take that into consideration. Right. But if it's a reoccurring thing, this isn't the same time. I feel that's where departments need to step in and be like, hey, bro, like maybe you're 5 years into this right now, and we're constantly correcting how you're not de-escalating. You're showing up already irritable. Like, here's your things. And I feel these departments, and this is just me completely speaking out of my ass right now, but it's like that's where the accountability needs to be held. Like they want to hold all these cops accountable once something happens.
Right.
Once you cross the line, once there was a peaking moment or whatever, escalation of force, then that's when departments step in, instead of they're not proactively, hey, Dennis, sit down. Let's sit down, buddy. Hey, listen, the last 6 months, our now AI program has gone through and scrubbed everything. Here's the things we need you to be working on. Here's where you're great at. You're interacting with elderly, with the children. Incredible. But when you're with these certain individuals, this is where you're at. Like, do you think that's the future of policing, to be able to like fine tune these law enforcement officers? I'm not saying like put these little machines out on the road, but how are we able to use this footage to better these guys? Has that ever been an option?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Like, yeah. Our, and I've heard of departments not doing that, but our department does a really good job of actually telling these guys, hey, before this becomes a problem and you get yourself in trouble and this becomes a lawsuit for us, these are the issues that you need to fix. So
okay, that's good.
Yeah. But, and I think now, to be honest with you, like the new cops now, it's an easier transition. It's like kids being born now, they're born into having a cell phone, right? So now cops that are in now that don't know any better, I mean, it's easy for them. I think there is no transition. This is what they're dealt with from day one. I think it's the older cops who have been trained, like, let's say a guy that's just like me, right? Where we went on 5-7 years with no body cams, and we were trained by older guys who didn't have any body cams, and you develop those bad habits, right, on how to do everything without a body cam. And so that transition was rough.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because you're not used to it, right?
Trying to teach an old dog new tricks.
Teach an old dog new tricks. So
but at the same time, I feel if these guys that are running beats in gangbanger areas, like this is just where my mind goes, and who even knows if it's realistic, but you take a cop that's running his department or his beats the pier, and he's cruising the beaches, and he's dealing with just some drunks here and there, maybe some drug deals, but versus a cop that's 6 blocks in and he's in Skid Row.
Yeah.
Those aren't the same interactions.
No.
And so but we want the cookie cutter cops. So it's like, does that department look and be like, okay, you guys, yes, you could talk to these dudes this way. And we're going to keep you in this area though. But like, you're probably not going to be made for cruising the pier on 4th of July, because your de-escalation skills probably aren't the best. I mean, there's like, how do we make the perfect cop? How do we make a good cop? I guess nobody's perfect, but so how do we make those good cops, and how do we stop these stupid ass incidences that are just going viral every freaking day? It seems like they have to learn how to adapt. They have to learn how to adapt, because just like you said, right? Like there's cities too, like really nice parts and really shitty parts, right? So you can have a cop who has an interaction with somebody in a shitty area, and I'm not talking, I'm not putting down that area, but let's say if it's a high crime area and their interaction was just negative, right? And they got shit on, and they got cussed at, and now they're holding all this inside, right? I mean, we're just naturally human beings. Yeah. I mean, it's just the way we're wired. Carry everything.
We just carry everything, right? And a lot of these guys don't know how to process what they went through from one call to the next. So now you have a cop who experienced just crap, like just a crappy situation. They were just treated poorly. And then now they go on to the other side of town, which is really nice. And now you interact with somebody who actually loves you, who actually supports the police department. But you don't know that, because now you're just carrying everything over from that last experience. And now you just regurgitate everything out on that person.
That makes sense.
Right.
And it's easy for somebody to sit there and listen and be like, well, just don't,
No.
Well, you're in a different part now. Yeah. But you're wired. It's your job. I mean, you're every single day you're dealing with people that just hate you, and then all of a sudden you're on a different part of town, and we were kind of talking about earlier, like the people that are leaving these certain states that are just, they have this attitude or personality, and they're so closed off, and then they're like, oh, we're leaving California for better life, but then they come or they go, anywhere else, but they bring that mentality. That's just how your life is, right?
That's how your life is.
You got a New Yorker that's moving to Florida or, Louisiana. It's like, they're so used to that hustle and bustle life. Then you get down to the South, you're like, oh my God, everything's crawling here. Yeah. But for you guys, you got to adapt immediately. So
you have to, and you got to be able to just process it, right? Yeah. You just kind of say, okay, man, like this wasn't personal. personal, right? Like and a lot of these guys personalize everything, right? They take everything so personal, and all of a sudden now you interact with somebody, like I said, who actually loves you, who wants you there. And now they are left with a bad experience, whereas before they just loved you, and now they're off with a bad experience. What do you think you just did to that person now they hate the cops, whereas before they loved it, right? And so I think I think it's up to us and the department to teach on how to adapt and kind of get through these scenarios and not take everything so personally, to where, hey, not everybody's like that. But the thing is too, is like, we only see like the bad side of humanity too, right? Nobody calls the cops and says, hey, I want you guys to send an officer because I want you guys to see how well we're doing. Like, we're doing great, man. We're living a good life. We don't see that.
Yeah.
And we only see the bad, right? And so, you're just constantly up here, and now you just kind of spill over to everybody else around you.
Okay, so off of that question, being a cop, nobody's calling you to just tell you about their great day. You're only dealing with the negative. You're only dealing with somebody's worst day of their life, or you're helping create a worst day of their life. Do you still believe that people are good? So, okay, let me ask this question. After 20 years dealing with nothing but negative, the horrible side of humanity and people's worst days, do you still truly believe that people are good people?
You know what's funny? That I've never been asked that question, and that's probably the best question I've ever been asked. Yes.
Okay.
If you would have asked me that question probably maybe 5 years ago, I would say no.
Interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, no. Yeah. And I think that's why I'm at a point in my life where I'm like, hey, the world is not bad. There's a lot of good people. There's a lot of good people. We don't see that, and then once you start
tend to forget about it,
you tend to forget about that. Yeah. But I'm at a different point in my life where now I could just see everything just differently now. Right. And there's good people out there. But if you would ask me that 5 years ago, I'd be like, no, man, everything's just shitty. It's just because we just see the worst of the worst, and nobody calls when, things are going good. But yeah, no, I truly believe there's good people, and it's just things that I've seen along the lines too. And you got to look out for those. You got to pay attention to all that stuff, because there's good people out there.
For sure. It's, and that, and I asked that question because it's just, I'm sitting here putting myself in your shoes. And it's like, man, if I'm only dealing with negative people that hate me, killers, rapists, drug addicts, child molesters, the list goes on and on. That's why I was sitting thinking when I'm asking questions, like, how would I look at people that, like, our society is still good when you never get to see any of it?
Right. But at the same time too, I'm involved in other things outside of work, which is I get to experience good people. The gym that I train at, I mean, these guys are probably one of the most loving, good men that I've known my entire life. People from church, right? I get my family, my friends, my close circle. I surround myself with good people, and so I remind myself constantly that this world is not as bad as we think it is.
So that's probably a really huge piece of the puzzle, is having a life outside of the department that doesn't have to deal with cops, that doesn't have to deal with drinking, doesn't have to deal with telling the stories that you've been living every single day. It is completely disconnecting and having a whole other life, hobbies, everything else besides the department.
100%.
And if you don't, then how do you not get jaded and think people suck and that everybody's evil?
100%. And this is the thing too, is like, if all your friends are on law enforcement and all your friends are within the police department, which is a good thing, don't get me wrong, some of these guys can't see outside of that. Some of these guys don't have your mindset. So what does that take? Like, yeah, I absolutely love a lot of guys in my department, right? I get along for the most part with everybody, but I know that they still kind of hold that negativity and they hold all that in where everything is perceived as bad. Do I want to surround myself with that?
Can't.
No, I can't, because it's going to just destroy me. It's
cancer.
It's cancer, right? And so it's going to destroy my internal well-being and all that. So for me, I look outside, and most of my friends, like good friends, like I got a very handful of friends within the police department that I truly love. They love me. We're like brothers. But a lot of people in my network are outside of the police department, and that's the way I prefer it. They have no clue what goes on within the department, you know, and they kind of fill my cup. That makes sense.
It's funny you say that. 100% makes sense, because I was that guy when I transitioned out of the military, went straight contracting in Afghan, meet a whole different style of dude there. And then I get back, start an executive security company, hire all veterans. So I surrounded myself, and I never looked at things differently. I wasn't trying to better myself. And you're talking, it's the same stories, the same shit. What was me, blah, blah, blah. And then it took me a while. And once I'd start meeting, then it's when kind of my entrepreneur phase of my life kicked in. And now I'm meeting and I'm networking these guys, these businessmen, and I'm sitting down at a table for 30, 40 minutes with a guy, and I'm getting more knowledge in this short conversation than I have the last 5, 6 years sitting at a table with all these vets. And I'm not saying there's not successful vets and all, but that's the mindset. Then I really started thinking, like, God, dude, what am I even doing in this business? Like, how did I even end up in this room one with these men? Like, I'm just going to shut up and listen to this. I'm coming home. Wife's like, how'd it go? I'm like, oh my God, they're talking about this. I never even thought about this. And I think I'm going to start this. And so then it started clicking. I'm like, holy shit, every time I'm around just outside of my circle, I'm learning a whole other world. And then I slowly started disconnecting, because it was all bro vets that are just ass grabbing and just get drunk and party and what, you know, it's just, and then I started realizing, I'm like, okay, that's not I don't like that demographic of vet. And then I meet other vet, and I'm like, not. So then now where I'm at in my life, like, dude, besides my core military boys, new vets very seldom get brought into my circle, where I'm just, I'm like, yeah, dude, you're a vet. I'll do anything I can to help you. I'll support you. I'll help you build whatever you need to. But as far as being inside of my circle, I'm like, man, like, I'm good, because it's just that mindset.
It's that mindset.
And it was all the same. And I'm not throwing shade on veterans, but they get in that mentality. They get, a lot of them victims, and hey, woe was me, and we're owed all this. And I'm over here like, dude, I'm owed nothing. Like, I don't want to be like at this table. And that was another thing. I'm sitting at this full table full of men. I'm like, I don't want to be like any of these guys.
Because you can get sucked into that
so quick, because that's who you're surrounding yourself with. And it's just a mindset. And then now you're a victim, and you're finding yourself.
It's a loop. And I'll tell you right now, as much as I want to say that I do everything that I can to not have that, it's contagious. And so we could all fall in that trap. And, you know, you can do, you know, all the spiritual work you want and the meditation and all this other stuff. And as soon as you go to work, you're hit in the face, and now you're just kind of surrounded by that environment and surrounded by those people. And now you're just drawn back to it. Yeah.
It's like an addict trying to get sober and
and then you're just,
you get sucked in every time. But then until you step out of that circle, year or two goes by, and then you see that group of guys, you're like, talking about the same shit.
You're just talking about the same thing.
Same VA crap, same woe was me.
Same victim mindset.
And I'm over here like, okay, cool. I got a business. I'm going to try to grow this. I want to start this. And it's all mindset. And you always hear, you are who you surround yourself with. You know,
it's
as a kid.
It's so true, though, dude.
It is, dude. It's one of those things where, okay, like, I love my boys, dude. That's all I need. And then you meet somebody like yesterday, Vargas, right? Like, you know, you meet a guy like him. You're like,
and I'm like, oh, dude, he's a breath of fresh air. Wow, dude, there's other guys like out there like this. Wow. Okay,
but if you don't leave your circle, you don't meet guys. I'm very fortunate, especially with the podcast. I can meet so many incredible men and women on here. But it's just that was a big thing for me when I was starting and growing my little business for the first time. I thought I was all cool. I'd go to vets and my boys in these veteran communities, and they don't have advice for me. They don't know how to help me grow things. And so that's when I had to start leaning and looking at mentors in the business world. And it started opening my eyes. I'm like, dude, no offense to my boys and military guys, but I'm like, this is this isn't providing anything to me except for just reminiscing.
Right. But you have to be conscious about it too, right? And you got to understand, like, okay, dude, is this person good for me or is he bad for me? You know, is he holding me back? Is this person holding me back? And are they in that same loop, you know, where they're just reminiscing and just bring you back down over and over again? You know, because then you start to feed off that. So you got to be like aware and know, like, dude, there's other things outside of this community. There's other things outside of these guys. Like, I love these guys and I'll die for these guys, but there's a whole new world out there, right? And so once you start to realize that, and for me, it took nearly 20 years to understand that, holy shoot, man, like this is not something that I want. Like, I don't want this. I don't want to live like this. I want to enjoy my life, but at the same time, I still want to enjoy what I do. Right. And I still want to enjoy, I still enjoy serving the public. I still enjoy helping people. I still enjoy protecting people. I really think that's what I was born to do. I really think so. And I love doing that, but without the drama, without all that other stuff.
But it's just a job.
It's just a job.
That's where a lot of people get hung up.
It's not your life. It's not your identity.
It's who I am. I'm a cop. I'm a soldier. I'm this. And it's like, no, you're not, man.
No.
Who really, that's a big thing with me in helping vets over the last 15 years, you know, with our organization. That was, I feel 90% of charities, law enforcement, first responder charities, veteran charities, I'll speak on because that's just been the world I've been in. I feel the majority of charities miss the whole entire point of helping these men and women. Cool, I can send you on a trip anywhere in the world. Oh, you're struggling? Cool, we'll go float the river and we'll have 5 days in the backcountry, go hunting, whatever. You want to go fly fish, learn to tie flies? They go home, they're still that person.
Right.
They're still, that's their identity is still
engraved in them.
That's who they are. And so later, it wasn't until the later days in our organization where I'm like, dude, I'm dealing with guys that are struggling from shit 20 years ago, but you would think it was last year.
Yeah.
They're that bad. 20 years later, I'm like, okay, something's not working inside the charity world. Like, and then then asking questions and diving, it all came down to identity. These guys didn't have purpose. There was no identity behind them. That's all they ever knew.
That's all they are.
They even if they did 4 years and they got hit or lost a boy, they that chapter of their life, it was so traumatic. It was such a crazy time. That's all they grasped onto, and they peak. A lot of guys, you know, not in a super negative way, but that was like their highlight of their life. And then they get out, they don't have the brotherhood anymore. They don't have the camaraderie. They're alone. So they hang on to that. And that's when they're at the VA, they start, and then these veterans all get pulled in together. So it's like, okay, cool, dude. We did some shit back in the day. Some dudes went through hell and back and women went through hell and back, but it's like, let's cut that chapter. Let's close it. Who are you now? Like, who do you want to be? Do you want to be a better father? Do you want to be an entrepreneur? Do you want to find your faith? Whatever it is. And that's where we really started shifting gears in the organization, because we're like, okay, we've been helping these guys for 15 years and we're still this bad. What do we have to do? And then digging and talking. They're like, well, this, and you'd see them dwelling, and they were stuck in that chapter of their life. It's like, okay, we need to find something for you now. Let's build a new identity. And you'd see these guys completely change. And I'm not saying we're healing from trauma and things like that, because you know how our bodies will carry it and we hang on to things that we just don't know about, but you're working on yourself. I'm not a veteran. Like, dude, when people are like, oh, you're a vet, I'm like, that was a that was
a chapter of my life.
Yeah. Right. I'll have my memorabilia, and dude, it's a proud chapter of my life. I love my best friends. I have my family because of the military, but like, that's not my title.
Yeah, it's not who
I want to be a dad. Right? I want to be a rad dad. Like that's what I want my title to be. Dude, help me with this, man. Like, dude, we got to do this together. Whatever it may be. Like, that's what I want to be known for.
Right.
It's like the kid that peaked in high school football.
Oh yeah, we all know those guys. Yeah.
Like, we're gonna still wear our Letterman jackets.
Yeah, and you're still talking war stories. Yeah.
And that's what your life consumes, because that's who you surround yourself with. But you start meeting these people outside of your circles, and then now they're leveling you, because you're, like I said before, it's like, man, I'm sitting here going, how am I sitting at this table with these guys? I'm the poorest one here. I have no idea what's going on. But then they bring you in. I'm just listening. I'm like, okay, cool. I need to do this, and I've never heard this before. holy shit, if I start doing it this way, it's going to set me up for X, Y, and Z. Nobody's ever explained that to me. You know, like none of my boys know about this shit. So it's like, okay, I need more of this in my life. And that was a big thing for me. I was the Bam Bam, fucking 50 cal, all just the shit, the image. And then it's like, dude, I want to be cool. That was all fun, man. It was a great run. But like, who are we now? I want to be a host of a podcast that gives people an opportunity to come on and share their life stories. I don't need to dwell on being a veteran is a great, cool thing, but same with law enforcement, same with athletes, but we get so consumed for so much time in our life, or such a traumatic time in our life, that that's what we build our image around. And it's like, I think once cops start realizing, okay, dude, and that's what kind of helped me. I always looked at the Marine Corps as a 9-to-5 job. I never wore my uniform home. I left everything at work. I helped that separation. I didn't bring it home with me. I wasn't wearing a high and tight and walking around with my shirt tucked in on the weekends and everything covered in a line. And it wasn't me. Dude, people, you never even know I was a Marine when I was off work. I got asked all the time, you in the Navy? Because my hair was so low. It was the greatest compliment that I ever received when people ask if I was in the Navy. I was like, okay, all right. Because I didn't want to look like a Marine. I wanted to leave, which I look back at pictures now and it looked like the most Marine shit ever besides a high and tight. Yeah. But that was one of those things where I was like, okay, I need outside of this. Like, there's more to life than.
And you don't want to take yourself too seriously either. No, I think that's what it is too. It's just like you said, like you leave it at work. Once you come home, hey, like this is who you truly are now. Mm-hmm. You're a dad, you're a father, you're a husband, you're a wife. You're a friend. On the way. Yes.
You got a fiance you're starting a new life with. That's your focus.
Yes. That's who you truly are. Right. Mm-hmm. And for me, like, I understand now who I am now, exactly who I am.
Good.
And I know what my purpose is.
Good.
Obviously, is to serve God and to serve my family. That's it. And it's clearly defined. That's exactly. And I serve other people and I protect. That's it. That's it. I don't have to go around flashing my badge or my gun or anything like that. Right. And so I enjoy what I do and I enjoy the people, but I'm not caught up in that identity. Right? I think
biggest thing.
Yeah.
It's the biggest thing. Let's shift gears a little bit. So you worked a lot of different units, little task force things, position. I don't know what you guys call them.
Yeah.
Different MOS in the military, but you had a lot of different assignments, I guess.
Yeah.
What you guys call them. What was your favorite assignment out of everything you got to do?
I worked an undercover unit for 2 years, and it wasn't a narc unit, but it was called CCAT. It's Career Criminal Apprehension Team. And that was probably one of the best times of my life because, number one, like my good friends were in that unit. And so I got to work alongside my best friends, which I couldn't, ask for anything more. And you're working with 5 guys and a sergeant, and all you do is you just go after like the dangerous guys who were wanted by detectives that had warrants, stolen vehicles, guns, drugs, all of that. So you had all the fun that comes with being a cop without a caseload, which was beautiful. Like I didn't have a case, like detectives now have a caseload, right? We have a caseload where we have so many investigations that we got to run at one time. And some of these guys can run from hundreds of cases to, a few cases, depending on what desk you're at. So we didn't have a caseload, and detectives would just approach us and be like, hey, there's this guy that's wanted for murder or for rape or child molestation, whatever. This is who he is. I need you to go find him, arrest him, bring him back.
Oh, so you got to go hunt people.
We got to go hunt people, and doing it with just plain clothes, unmarked cars, doing surveillance.
That would be fun.
And so you come up. And so what that did is it allowed us to be creative on how we were capturing these guys, which was, it was amazing because you can come up with all sorts of things.
Like what? Okay, so what's a creative way to catch people? I mean, how?
There was one time we posed as a pizza delivery guy.
Is this shit fun? Is it fun, like coming up with this stuff?
You have no idea.
Okay.
Like, we were like UPS outfits, like a shirt, pretending like we're delivering a package. But we would do things like that. And just creative ways on how to kind of, and this is before body cams, this is before we didn't have any body cams. In fact, like those units, they don't have any body cams. I'm glad they don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, that we just came up with different ways on how to get these guys, we would have burner phones, cold call them, social media was huge. Like we would use social media, pretend like we were somebody else. And any way you could think of, we did all of that.
What was the most creative way that you guys ended up snatching somebody up? What tactic did you guys use? What's your most favorite way that you would catch people?
I would say social media. Social media. Like if I found a guy on social media, I would, obviously create a fake profile and pretend like I was a female that was interested in this guy.
Okay.
I'd find all these fake pictures, send him what he wanted, tell him what he wanted to hear. What he wanted to hear. It was kind of awkward, and then just keep feeding him, right?
Okay.
And sure enough, they would bite and be like, all right, hey, let's just meet here, and he would show up, and boom.
Snatch him
up, man. And he was just like, I thought I came here I came here to meet Linda. Like, where's she? I'm like, yeah, I'm Linda, bro.
Oh no, shit. Yeah, these dudes are pissed.
Yeah. So that was probably one of my favorite ways. Because you kind of just mess with them a little bit. But,
is it weird talking to a dude acting like a chick?
Yeah, but at the same time, it's kind of fun, dude.
You're just catfishing, dude.
Yeah, I'm just catfishing.
No shit. You get paid for that. See, that's the part I guess would be fun as a job.
And some of the young guys, they love compliments, right? They like to feel like they're the big man on campus. So I would just kind of just feed their ego what they wanted to hear. Oh, you're so cute, this and that. Some of these guys have never had a girlfriend. So you knew, like, okay, I got this guy. So that was fun, man. That was a lot of fun. And just like I said, like we would just come up with one time we pretended to be a pizza delivery guy, knock on the door. Hey, we had a Domino's pizza shirt, fake pizza box, and guy would answer the door. All right, boom, you come with us. So
no shit.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day when they'd show those stings where they would, you won like a boat or you win like a lottery ticket or something, and then they would just have stings in like these big buildings, and people just roll up all day.
Yeah,
they would just set all these people had warrants. They would just. Did you guys ever do anything like that?
So I assisted in a similar operation where we would kind of, not that they won anything. That's actually pretty good though. But it was like a kind of how to catch a predator kind of thing where, we would have dialogue with a guy that was trying to pick up on a 14-year-old girl. And we would, this would go on for about a week. And then finally, once we kind of groomed him and stuff, it's kind of like that Chris Hansen show.
Yeah.
And we would show up, he would show up at a hotel, and dude, we'd snatch him up.
How long were you doing that type of work?
2 years.
What was that called? Like, what's that unit called?
It was the Career Criminal Apprehension Team.
And so you're going after like pedos and stuff too?
Everybody.
What's it? Okay, so what's it like going after people that are preying on children? Being a father yourself.
Oh man, Brian, that was probably one of the hardest times of my career because I did that desk for about a year. And it's...
What do you mean the desk? Like you got assigned to just specific children shit?
Yes, yeah. And thank God it was only less than a year. No more than a year. And it's a very dark place. You're in a very dark place at that time, especially if you got kids. And, you deal with some of these guys and you're just kind of, like I said, man, you see what they do, you see the damage that they cause, and you just see the evil that they're so consumed with. And you're there. You're actually in there. You're in the trenches because that's exactly the way you got to think. That's the way you got to operate in order to catch these guys. So I'm going to be honest with you. I did the job the best I could, and I put some really good cases together, but it wasn't my best times.
How are you putting? Okay, so as a dad, you get a case on a guy that's assaulting children, taking pictures, videos, whatever it may be, and all the sick shit that they do. How do you process it as a dad? Because you have to go through all the photos and everything, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so not even just as a dad, just as a human being, how are you able to look at that shit and just put it away?
You don't. For me, I could never put that away, dude. I could never, like, it was hard, man. I would see pictures, or it was this one time where I was talking to this girl. She was 18, but she was raped by her biological father since she was 6 years old, all the way to 16. And she didn't say anything for the longest time.
Oh my God.
And I remember when I was conducting the investigation and I was interviewing her. And there was this one interview where it lasted maybe close to an hour. And I'm just trying to write everything down. She starts to break down. She starts to cry. And, you're just a human being. At that point, I broke down, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I couldn't take it.
How do you not?
Because she had 2 sisters and I had 3 girls. And, I just lost it, man. And I'm trying to kind of stay with her at the same time. And I'm trying to kind of hold it together and do the best you can. You just do your best. You just do your best, dude. And there's no perfect way to process any of that. In fact, I don't know, like, I'm sure that there's ways that people, different ways that people kind of separate themselves. But to me, I couldn't do that. I couldn't.
How do you separate looking at images, videos of children? And I've kind of mentioned this before. It's like, people don't think like, oh, they caught this predator. But then when you catch the predator, obviously you're getting in their phones, you're getting in hard drives. Then it's not that it just ends there. There could be thousands. Because I had a woman come on and she talked about her current husband at the time was molesting her children from another marriage. And when he got caught, there was thousands and thousands of AI generated images, pictures of kid. Like, so then that falls on you. So now you have to go through each individual photo, correct? Mm-hmm. How are you doing that?
You just do it because it's obviously your job, number one. But then you also too, like, the way I thought about it, like the way I processed it was, I'm thinking about giving justice to this victim. And that was the only way I was able to get through that investigation. In the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm delivering justice to her and her family. She doesn't have a voice. She's helpless, and I am her only hope. So that is the only driving force to me that I had, that I was able to, I could hang on to and be like, hey, this is why I'm doing this, is because of her. Because if I don't do this, and if I don't see through it all the way, and I don't complete this investigation as best I can, then she is going to have a harder time. She's already going to have a hard time dealing with this. When that woman gets married and she's got kids and she's got a relationship and she goes off to get married, it's not going to be easy, man, especially everything that she's gone through. So if I can just do this little thing for her, hopefully I can make her life maybe 10% better, right?
Or help possibly do with closure. This guy's got life now, or he's doing 30.
And he ended up getting life. We cracked open this big case. And when I ended up arresting, it was 2 suspects involved in that case. And when we ended up arresting them, they got convicted and now they're serving life. At that point, I was like, okay, she's got some closure now. And this was, hey, look at me. This is what I'm doing. This is all for her and her family and her mother and her siblings, right? So for me, I'm like, this is what that family needs. And when I finally did that, it kind of just gave me chills. It gives me chills now just talking about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, because her sisters got molested too. So all 3 sisters were victims of rape. And I knew the family was struggling. The mother was struggling. And I can't imagine what that mom was going through. I really can't. you know, and
What's sad too is a lot of these cases you find out the moms knew what was going on. A lot of moms turn just
yeah. This mom here, she had
yeah.
no clue.
Well, I'm saying that, yeah, thank God, but at the time, or maybe she should have found out, but it's just, yeah, I'll see these things. My wife will watch stuff and she's like, yeah, the mom knew the whole entire time. It's like, what the and then the cops were having to go and put that piece together. And
Yeah.
yeah, I just, there's a special place in heaven for people that have to process any crimes against children.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. I'm trying to find somebody right now. I'm talking to a guy that bring out, because I just want to talk about everything. And that's because it's such a terrifying world. And in us as a society, we just want to, it's nothing anybody wants to talk about, but
yeah, but you want to push it aside.
the amount of evil and the level of evil that's out there preying on children. It's just like, people need to hear what is going on, because, and then you got the cops, man. Like, this is where I feel, I'm not a huge advocate of AI, but I feel AI this is one of those tools that, like, put this in the system and scan it and break it down, so you don't have to have some officer going through gigs and terabytes of child pornography that's some piece of shit's been gathering over the last 10 years and buying off the dark web. And now some dad's got to sit there and go through each individual photo and video. Yeah. It's just, I don't know. I don't know how. I try to wrap my head around that. And that's one of those things where if I got assigned to it, I'm resigning. Like, that would ruin me. It would ruin my life if I had to look at images like that.
And I think the only thing that actually fuels you to do something like that is to think about the victims. That's the only thing that
you have to. What else are you hanging on to?
Nothing. And then, you start to develop this hate and this resentment towards that particular group of people who do this.
Yeah, which probably doesn't take much.
No, and you got so much that goes on in your mind that you want to do to them, right? And you're like, dude, you just destroyed
this child's life.
Dude.
Because people don't, I mean, let's kind of dive deep into this a little bit, but like, people don't realize a child gets taken advantage of. You've just taken their soul. I mean, the child's ruined. Then say it's a young little girl, when she grows up one day and is intimate with somebody or wants to start a family,
she's not going to know what to do. She's not going to have
the trauma that comes along, especially your dad's been molesting you your whole the majority of your childhood.
Who you love, somebody who you trust,
supposed to be your protector and provider, is taking advantage of you as a child and your sisters. And how do you even?
You're not going to be able to have a functioning normal marriage or relationship after that.
I don't know how. I don't, and I'm not speaking for people of victims by any means, but it's just but then you look at a lot of these people that are doing it, they were molested as children, like hurt people, right?
Yeah.
So
that's exactly what it is.
And now you just took this child's soul. The chances of them doing the same thing down the road, I don't know how high it is, but it's got to be enough where there's got to be stats on that. How many people are victims to become?
It's just a revolving evil loop.
Yeah, and it never ends, and it's just. I don't know. I feel so horrible when I hear these cases or have moms come on the show. I as a dad, I don't even know how to. I don't even know how I would process that.
And you can't. It's something that you can. It's something that kind of just stays with you forever.
For sure.
Right. But again, I go back, Brian. I go back, and so when I have something like that, I go back and I remind myself, hey, the world is not that bad. Not that bad. That this is just a selective group of people. For sure. Who are just evil, who don't, and I'm not trying to make an excuse for them, but they just honestly, in a sense, they don't know any better. That's all they know. It's just evil, right?
I'm with you that they're all evil, but that's all they don't know any better. Like,
because their mind is so small.
I get what you're saying,
and they're just selfish, and
they're a product of their environment. They've probably been raped their whole entire life, molested, especially these young men that are getting taken advantage of by uncles and dad, whatever else. Yeah. So I mean, I get. It just, it's hard to process when you're like, it's all they know. There's
well, and that's the way I see it too. It's like, hey, like they're not even human beings, dude. Mm-hmm. Like, I consider them honestly like just animals.
For sure, they're a predator.
They're primal, just instinctive creatures who just look out for what satisfies them in the moment and in their
prey on the weak.
Exactly. So for them, they're in a whole different category.
Does it feel pretty good when you build a case on somebody and end up getting life?
Oh my gosh, something like that. 100%, 100%. Like that right there. Even when they got convicted, man, I kind of, it was this sense of like just this big weight lifted off my shoulders, and I was able to tell that family. Wasn't like, hey, look at me, but I was finally able to tell that family, like, you're never ever going to see that person again. You're never going to see that person again. That person's locked up. What does that mean? Well, it means that you're safe. It means that you're safe in this whole world. I still keep in contact with that family.
Oh, okay.
And this was 7 years ago, and the mom still emails me almost monthly. She used to email me every week, sending me pictures of like her family and how well they're doing. And
so you got to watch these girls progress afterward?
The victim that I was talking to about, she ended up getting married.
Cool.
And they all had, and so that to me was like, oh, dude, this is why I do what I do.
Yeah. That's why we need people like you out there doing that type of stuff. I couldn't do it. I'll admit it right now. I'll do anything. I'd sign up for firing squads to kill those dudes. I'm in for almost. I'm that dude. Hell, hey, I got an idea. I'm in. Let's roll. That one, I'm resigning. I'm quitting on the spot. It would ruin me, man. It would ruin me. Like I've had opportunities to get kind of tied into some of these they're hunting these dudes down.
But again, too, it's all about the victims, man.
I know.
See
that I don't look at it. I want to inflict as much pain and suffering on people.
I would love to do that. Yeah, if they allowed me to do, of course. But I always think about the victims, man. I always think about the victims.
Tough. That's a tough one. Speaking of victims, you were involved in a crazy incident where a woman come running, screaming across the field, being chased by a dude with machetes or knives in his hand, and you were off duty, and you had to intervene in all of this?
Yeah.
Let's hear this story.
Yeah. I hope I never have to go through that again. You know what I mean? But it was definitely an experience for sure, man. So back in 2021, May, my son plays for Friday Night Lights. I don't know if you guys have that here in
maybe.
Okay, so it's a flag football league, and every single Friday, in one particular park and field, you have all these teams that gather from ages 5 to 18, and they all play on Friday throughout the day. So you can imagine that there's a bunch of people on this field, right? Well, let me go back. So prior to this game, or this particular Friday, I started off the day going, my nephew wrestled at the time. He was a senior. He had a big tournament. And I went to his tournament, and we had a good time. And the entire time, I had my off-duty tucked in my waistband. And it's funny because now my nephew, who was wrestling at the time, was a senior stud. This kid's a stud. He's now a cop for Newport Beach.
Okay.
So this kid's just an absolute stud. So I went to his wrestling tournament, and I don't know if you've ever been to a wrestling tournament, but dude, they are all day. They drag on.
Bro,
and
you're competitive taekwondo. You're there at 6 a.m. You're leaving at 8 o'clock at night. It's horrible.
So you're at these tournaments just to watch one match, right?
Yeah.
But you have to stay there all day because you don't know when his
they don't
match
give
is
you
gonna-
time
They
rings.
don't give you time. Like, all right, he's up. All right, cool. Let's.
Been there.
So I have my off duty. I go watch him wrestle. Ends up doing phenomenal. And it's just every Friday was just busy because that's what it consisted of. I'm going to because I got nieces and nephews. I'm going to their games, their tournaments. And then now, so I go to this tournament and I have my off duty the entire time. And so I go back home and now I got to get my son ready for his game. And at the time he was 9 years old, and I got to get him ready. And it's funny because on my way there, I call the kids and they're at home, and I'm like, I need you guys ready because I got to make snacks now because it's my turn to make snacks for the entire team. And I mean, you know how it is. Like when you tell kids to get ready, Dude, you say, hey, be ready.
I give her an hour buffer.
Okay.
I need you to get ready now.
It's still
We're
not
leaving no, bro.
No.
She's still 5 minutes late, 10 minutes late. I give her an hour head start. Hey, we're gonna be leaving at 6 o'clock. It's 4:45.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's never enough time.
6:15. We're walking out of the house. Yeah. 100%.
So I'm like, hey guys, I need you guys ready. And I told my son, I need your mouthpiece. I need you to get your water, your snacks. I need you to get your uniform ready. All this stuff, right?
Nothing.
That never happens.
No.
Right? So guess what? Now dad goes home. I got to get everything ready. I'm making snacks. I'm cutting up oranges and putting them in bags and getting everything. My head is just spinning, right? I'm loading things in the car. I'm getting I have to make sure he's ready. He's not even ready. He can never find his mouthpiece. And they won't let you play if you don't have your mouthpiece, right? So I'm all over the place, right? And so when I'm packing everybody in the car in and out, I'm starting to be inconvenient by my gun. Right.
Where
so
and you can
it's
feel
just
it
where
just
I'm
irritating.
like, okay, cool, yeah. So and I'm always carrying it, right? So I'm like, fuck it, dude. I don't need this thing. So I fucking take it off and I lock it inside the door. And it's funny because when I did that, I'm like, well, then I'm only going to a little kid's football game.
Mm-hmm.
What can go wrong? I've never needed this, right?
Famous last words.
Yeah, exactly. So I throw it in there. I'm getting everything ready. We load them up. We load the wagon up and everything. And my wife is working at the time. And she's just like, hey, listen, I don't get off of work till like 5 or 6. I'll just meet you at the game. All right, no problem. So I finally pack my son up and my daughter. Then we head to the game. And I'm loading everything down, putting everything in the wagon. I got all these snacks ready to go for these kids. And dude, I'm just tired at this point. Because it's been a long day. I'm playing dad all day, which I love. I'm not complaining, right? I love my life.
But for dads, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. I've had to play mom a couple times. I'm done within a couple hours. Not built for it.
Mom lives, dude, it's hard, bro.
Studs.
Studs. Exactly. That's why they're good at what they do. They can handle that. I can't. You put me on a big scene, then yeah, cool, no problem, man. That's fun. But man, dealing with all that stuff, like soccer moms, dude, it's no joke. It's a lot of work.
Nobody actually talks about that shit. You could drop me in the most shit show environment that this planet has to offer. Okay, hey, move this.
Yeah.
I gotta do hair and pack lunches, bro. No way. Like I am. How much mustard? How much fucking mustard?
And why is that stressful? I don't know. It just is.
Where are the fruit snacks? Yeah. 100%.
So for me, if you ask my kids, man, I love my kids, me and my wife. To me, that's stressful. I get stressed out doing that. And I'm like, I don't even know, like, I'm supposed to pack all these lunches. What am I supposed to, what do kids like? Oh, I just put a bunch of random stuff in there. You know what I mean? So I'm hauling this wagon. My son is doing his own thing because kids do their own thing. They don't care. They're not going to help you. He sees his buddies and now they're off. Right?
You're on your own.
They're gone, right? And this is just an everyday, normal, just regular day for me, right? Just a normal game day. I'm pulling this wagon and I'm just tired. I'm not looking around. Like, in fact, I think I had like my head was buried on my phone, right? I'm just tired. I'm over it. I got the lawn chair, my lawn chair, as my backpack, and I'm just rolling through the park. And it's just a lot of people, spectators, parents, coaches, players. There's hundreds and hundreds of people in this particular park. And the way this park is, these fields are divided. Like they're smaller football fields. It's not your traditional football fields. It's divided on these little fields, and you can have 5-6 games playing at one time.
Yep, we got some big parks like that here. Yeah.
So, and you're zigzagging through these little fields. So we get to my field, and now my son and his team, they're warming up on the field. And I prop my lawn chair down, and I sit down, and I'm not even. I have no care at all whatsoever. My head is buried in my phone. I have no clue what's going on around me. I know my son is warming up on the field. At that time, my wife is kind of arriving. And so everybody's kind of just shooting the shit. All the parents are there just gathered around. And that community, that side, it's in Garden Grove. It's on the west end. And it's just a close-knit community where everybody takes care of each other. All the kids are involved in sports. They kind of police their own. That particular area, they police their own. And so it's just a very family-oriented environment, especially that community.
Okay.
And so I'm just sitting there, and they're warming up. And then like 10 minutes into the warm-up, I hear this lady scream. And even now, like hearing her voice, I can still hear it.
What, like emergency screaming?
Oh, yeah, she's
screaming?
yelling. And I hear, somebody help me, he's going to kill me. But she's screaming this, right? And at the same time, my wife screams my name. And she's like, Dennis.
So certain tones of wives, I get goosebumps. My wife's yelled at a couple times, trigger something immediately that we know there's something wrong. Yes. So when your wife yelled your name, you knew immediately?
Dennis. Yes. So she yells my name, and I look over, and I see this lady. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
I see this lady run onto the field, and right behind her, she's yelling. She's like, "Somebody stop him! He's gonna kill me!" And she's running through this crowd, and I look over and I see this man chasing her, and he's holding 2 large butcher-style kitchen knives, one in each hand. And I'm gonna be honest with you, like when I saw that, I didn't think anything of it. Like I was kind of in shock because to me, like that's how the parents in that community, that's how they mess around. Like we mess around with each other, right? So it almost seemed like it was a game. Like she was messing around. Like it didn't register like what was going on. Cause I was kind of maybe in shock and I'm like, wait, what the heck? Like I thought, to be honest with you, I thought they were messing around.
How long did it take for you to process that it was real?
The only thing that stood out to me is when I looked down and I saw the knives, I was like, oh, dude, those are real knives.
And you didn't know these people, correct?
No.
They weren't part of your community?
Well, no, the mom was.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, so you know this woman?
Yeah. Well, her son was on the team.
Oh.
Her son
okay.
but I've never seen the guy.
Yeah.
Ever.
No shit.
Yeah. So that's why I was like, what the hell, dude? Like, what's going on?
Okay.
And her son was on the team. So when I looked, it almost seemed like they were messing around, right? Because that's how parents mess around. Like if we mess around, we chase each other, whatever, right? But then when I saw the knives, I was like, okay, those are real. What the hell? And when I saw that, I was like, oh shit, dude. And at that point, just instinctively, muscle memory, I go down and I lift my shirt up to go get my off duty.
And it's not there.
And it's not there. And at that moment, even now, thinking about it, now it gives me goosebumps. At that moment, it almost felt like I killed her.
You feel helpless?
Yeah. I felt like I killed her. And in my city that I work in, that's my city. And I'm not even prepared. I'm not ready. Like it's my job to do this. This is what on duty and off duty. Right. And so when I realized, I'm like, okay. All right. I didn't think. The only thing that I thought about at this point, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to have to chase after this guy. I have no other choice.
Is anybody reacting at this point?
No, everybody's kind of just sitting there. They're just staring, right?
Okay.
And so I'm like, oh, dude, I now have a guy. Now I'm going to go chase this guy. But before I do, the only thing that I was able to tell myself was like, okay, Dennis, you're going to chase this guy. Don't even think about it. Just go chase him. But understand this, is that without a doubt, you're going to get stabbed.
Yeah, someone's getting cut.
You're going to get cut. So get that out of your mind. Okay, you're going to get cut, but you're not going to die. So you are going to get cut. So when it happens, you're not in shock. And it's going to happen. That's the only thing I was able to tell myself at that point, because I can't have conversations, man. Like every second counts, right? And so I just go off after him. And as soon as I go off after him, the coach of our team was in the middle of the field and he's running towards the coach. And I'm running after this guy.
So you're trailing him, or are you like at an angle at him?
No, I'm trailing right behind him.
Okay.
And nobody's on the field except the coach. And the coach, man, I'll tell you right now, if it wasn't for this coach, man, I don't think I would have been here, because he steps in front of this guy. He sees me. The coach sees me.
Chasing.
Really good friend. Yeah, chasing. And so he's just like, oh shit. And the coach he's a retired Marine. Hardcore coach, right? Just hardcore. Right?
Okay.
So when he sees me, we kind of make eye contact with each other. Like, hey, we're doing this. Like, we're doing
the
this,
unspoken.
bro. Unspoken, like,
yo,
yeah,
I need you right now.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
So he sees me, and it gives me chills, because he like, dude. One thing is being behind the guy, and one thing is being in front. He was in front of the guy.
What big difference?
Big difference. That guy had just balls on him, dude. And I chase after this guy, and at the same time, also I tackle him, and at the same time, this coach kind of grabs his hands without getting cut. We tackle this guy onto the ground, and now this guy's actively trying to fight us. Still holding on to these knives, to both of them. Wild.
Chaos.
I wish I could tell you that it looked like John Wick. I look badass.
But that's what it felt like. That's what it felt like.
But it didn't look like that, dude.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. As long as it's up here, you're like,
yeah. I wish I could tell you a better story. Like I just did some fancy karate kick, right? But it didn't happen that way. It was ugly.
So the Marine coach, dude running at the coach with two knives, you chasing it, you all collide almost at the same time?
Yes.
Damn,
yes.
that coach got lucky.
He got lucky, man.
Did the woman run past the coach?
Yes.
And then did he target the coach, or he's still going after the woman?
No, he's still going after the woman.
Okay.
And once we got him on the ground, he's still fighting. He's a big dude, and he's holding these knives. He's looking. He's trying to scan. He's still trying to look for her.
Oh, so he was after.
He was focused. He was trying to look for her, and he's focused, and he's fighting with us. I ended up pinning his hands down, right? Because I knew, I was like, and he's fighting, he's biting, he's headbutting, he's doing all these other things. But I knew, I was like, hey, the knives, that's like the head of the snake. That's what's going to kill us.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm pinning both of his knives, his hands down, and I'm giving instructions to the coach. Now we have that entire community. Most of the men in that team or in that group, they all came to help.
That was going to be one of my questions. How many people actually came to help?
Dude, that at that moment, that was one of the moments that I realized, oh shit, dude, there's good people out here.
Mm-hmm.
That gave me chills when I saw that. Because I'll tell you right now, Brian, I'm not going to sit here and say I did everything by myself. No, I had help.
Yeah, but you took the initiative.
I was probably that spark, yeah.
And unfortunately, that's until somebody,
until they
lit,
see, right?
Most people will watch,
right?
So you're downplaying yourself right now, but the fact that you were the first one to go, granted, it's your job, but you're off duty and don't have a firearm on you, you didn't hesitate. Which now other men, it's almost the pack mentality.
Yes.
I always tell my kids, nobody's ever come and help you, but it only takes that one person to start. Look how many people are dying on the street and everybody just films them.
Right.
But it takes one person to step in, then more people want to help.
There, just speaking of which, man, and I just remembered this. I don't know if you ever watched, there's this video of all these baboons on a street, and this lion comes chasing after them, and they all run. And there's this one baboon that turns around and starts chasing after the lion. And once he does that, all the other baboons turn around, they start chasing after this lion. It's almost like that. So I get this guy, and I just feel like everybody starts to dogpile this guy, and I'm giving instructions on, hey, we need to start working on these knives here. He's not letting him go, and he's still fighting. I got both of them pinned down. Let's work on this one. Let's pry this one out. And then we'll start working on the other one. So anyways, we pin this guy down safely. We remove both these knives. And again, I have the help with the coach. I have the coach's help and then everybody else there, right?
Nobody's getting cut at this point?
Nobody's getting cut. Nobody's getting cut.
Holy shit.
So we end up removing the knives. At one point, it's funny because we start rolling around, me and this guy, and I end up taking his back at one point. And I'm like, I could put this guy out right now easily, no problem. But I look up and I see my son looking at me. I'm like, hey, do I really want him to see all this stuff? You know? So there was another off-duty cop there, and he ended up giving me handcuffs. I didn't even know that there was off-duty cops that rolled around with handcuffs. But
I was gonna say, did you ever carry cuffs? No,
it's
a pretty nerdy ass thing to do.
So what's funny? Yeah, it is a nerdy ass.
I would 100% call a cop a dork. But I get it. But if you're off duty carrying cuffs, that's like,
yeah.
I don't know what to even compare that to. But I could feel maybe a badge, hidden badge, and obviously I'm going to carry if I have the right to. And California, you get that. But cuffs, that's one of those. I probably wouldn't carry those, but. Hey, it came in handy.
It came in handy. So I'm not, I was like, at first I was like, yeah, what a dork. But I'm like, dude, this guy actually came in clutch. Like, it's kind of cool.
Cuffs.
So it's funny because I have a lieutenant now who always makes fun of me because when all that happened, he was like, hey, who had the cuffs? Did you have cuffs on you, bro? Are you worried? Dude, are you walking around with cuffs?
Oh, they thought it was you.
You thought it was me that had cuffs. I was like, no, those are not mine, dude. I didn't even have a gun, dude. Like, come on, bro. Like, So
don't put me in that category.
Yeah, don't put me in that category. Those were not my cuffs.
Okay, good to know.
Thank God he had them, but they were not my cuffs. It was funny because when I had them on the ground, I just see these cuffs dangling right in front of my face, and I'm like, "What the hell?" So grab them. Yeah. I was like, I'm not gonna ask questions, dude. Like, that's cool. I'll use them
for sure.
Grab the cuffs. I slap it on them, and I start to hear sirens. I heard those sirens, man, and it was like music to my ears. It was the most beautiful thing. So I look up, and when I'm on the ground, and this guy's on the ground, he's cuffed, and I look up, my wife is on the phone. She's coordinating everything that's going on. She's a dispatcher, right? I think, like, looking back, she did more work, and I couldn't have done that without her.
Oh, for sure.
Because she called dispatch and she told them exactly what was going on. She told them exactly where we were out in the field, how many cops, like everything. She coordinated, like she made sure the knives were secured. She made
sure. What an incredible person to have on scene as a dispatch operator.
It was, dude. She honestly, Brian, she did everything. She made sure that the victim, the woman, was safe. She had her in pocket. She made sure she had she was like, okay, I got witnesses here. I got this here. The knives are still, because for me, I'm like, hey, where do the knives go?
Yeah.
And then everything happened so fast. And I knew, it's funny because like when stabbing victims or with victims who've been stabbed, they don't know that they've been stabbed.
Oh, for sure.
They don't know. You know what it feels like? It almost feels like a punch. Like just a punch to your side. You don't feel the blade. You don't feel any of that. So before I got up, I was like, okay, I got cut. I just don't know what I got. So I'm mentally preparing myself. So my wife is like, hey, I got to check you out. I lifted my shirt up, took my pants down, everything. I'm like, oh my God, dude, I'm not cut. Nobody in that scene, in that incident, was cut. The suspect wasn't cut. Nobody.
These are legit blades.
Legit blades. 8-inch, probably 8 to 10-inch blades. When as soon as I realized that, I'm like, I couldn't ask for a better outcome. Even with the suspect. Like if he got cut, like, okay, sucks, dude, but I really don't care.
You know, to be 100% on safety on that.
That was on him, right? But the fact that nobody got hurt in that entire incident was obviously God watching over it.
Oh,
but I also consider it luck. And I'll never be that lucky. I'll never be that lucky.
Maybe.
You know? And a little bit was honestly my skill, training came in hand, right? Because even once I had my hands, it's almost like my body knew what to do. And we resort to our most basic level of training when that happens. It's almost like it was kind of second nature, right?
You hear right? You always hear people, I reverted back to my training. And I had a scenario that I reverted the training. I actually told, I don't know if I told the full story, but I got in an altercation right here at a UPS store, and a dude pulled a gun on me after I put his ass on the ground. And he freaking draws right out. My wife's standing on one side of him, I'm on the other side of him. He draws a pistol. He's like, "You're fucking done," and draws his pistol out. As he's doing this, I was a martial arts instructor, so in the ring, fought in the Corps, did all that stupid shit, and ran me through all those Dude, I see this pistol come out of his waistband. I was like, bink! I just dove straight on him, took the side mount, both hands on her wrist, rolled his wrist over, pinned it, rolled the pistol out, threw the pistol, yelled at my wife, "Get the gun." I'm holding him. I watch her, get hands on the gun. She drops a mag, hollow point comes out, and I was just like, at that point. But yeah, it was. I didn't even think. I just dove. That was just like, I've taught that for years, but I've never used it. Dude, you're fucking done. I was like, there it comes. Like, I've been trained for this, but it was that moment that.
Oh, dude, I had no clue, man.
Well, it's a shit show.
I should be interviewing you.
Oh, dude. I don't even know if we got enough time to ever tell my story. Dude. But yeah, it was one of those. But I reverted straight back to training and then just pinned the dude, and it was a huge fiasco. But yeah, I never thought. But if I never would have had the training, who knows what my. But I played that back in my head a bunch. I'm like, man, if I never would have gone through the training, trained people in this scenario, knife, light with you, we do all throw the pistol on the mat and you're fighting for it. Live knife fighting. I've gone live knife fighting courses, which is sketchy shit. You got these giant helmets on and dudes are getting cut. So you learn that stuff, but then you put it away and you fast forward. God, bro, I think the last time I'd like rolled or trained legitimately was when I was in the Marine Corps. And that was 2011, 2012, maybe. This is years, a decade later.
But you always go back to your
naturally
basic level of training. I think that's why it's so important that you continue that, because it is perishable over time, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, for me, it's everything.
So everything panned. What caused all this? Why was he chasing this chick with a?
So that was his estranged wife, and they were going through some they were going through a nasty divorce, and he had tried to kill her with a gun. Probably about a month before that.
What?
He ended up getting 5150'd, and they took his firearm away. And so when he got out of the hospital, I think the next day, he went home, grabbed those knives, and he was going to kill her. He was going to kill her.
If you're at a game exposing yourself like that, you're peaked. He's only you're blacked out. You're pure red, peaked. There's no coming back. If you're chasing somebody onto a baseball field where there's women, children around, and you're chasing something, he was going to get her. He saved this woman's life.
And that's why it was hard for me to believe what was going on, because never in a million years would I be like, nobody, like when somebody gets stabbed, it's usually in some dark alley. Nobody, right? Nobody's going to stab somebody else in broad daylight in front of hundreds of people. Like in front of kids, like who does that?
Yeah, that's why he passed that point,
that threshold. Like he was just seeing
threshold.
Red.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's scary, man.
Yeah. So that's why I was like, it didn't register to me until I actually saw the blaze. I'm like, okay, those are real knives. Like this is real. But it just goes to show you, no matter how much training you have or experience or even being a cop for so long, nothing actually prepares you for that moment. You know what I mean? And being able to win a knife fight 100% of the time, you're going to get stabbed. You're never going to, I don't care how much, like if you're an MMA fighter, somebody is getting cut, no matter how proficient you are, because you can never train real life scenario where you're dealing with real knives. Like I teach knife retention stuff using fake knives.
Do you use the hard plastic ones.
Yeah.
You put lipstick on them, and do you have the tase ones? Have you ever used those? The shock ones?
No, not the. No, but I've heard of those.
Oh, suck.
I've heard of those. No, we just use just regular replica guns, but or knives, but nothing will ever prepare you.
We'd always put lipstick on the hard plastic ones. Those
So
big,
you see exactly what you got.
And you'd wear white shirts, and then bro, you know that, but that's when you learn. You're like, dude, I'm gonna take it on the forearm.
Yeah.
If I could get a movement in, like I'll sacrifice an arm.
Right.
Like
yeah.
But you go through those courses and you realize really quick, you're like, oh, like even if you miss and it's just a tap,
oh, you're getting cut.
Someone's getting cut, and you never left a ring without a mark on you.
We did not. Nobody got cut, which I was like,
and he had 2 blades.
2 blades. Yeah.
That's fascinating. Okay, so obviously you got cauliflower ear like a son of a gun. So you've been in the sports. Well, your ears are gnarly, by the way. I don't know if that's good or a bad thing, but you've earned some stripes. I mean, you're a brown belt in jiu-jitsu.
I'm a brown belt, yeah.
When you started law enforcement, were you training in jiu-jitsu?
No, the only training I had was what they teach us in the academy, as far as grappling.
Which is dog shit training, or is it worth
the 40 hours of grappling? Like that. So it's 40 hours of grappling, and now these guys come out expecting like, oh shit, I'm highly trained now. Like,
are they?
No, 40 hours is nothing. You know what I mean?
I don't know what's going in there. In my mind, I'm like, I'm not learning nothing than 40 hours. Who knows? I don't know.
But I mean, post requires that a certain amount of hours are dedicated to these particular things, right? And so you got, obviously firearm training, which we do consistently. And so they cram this grappling into a 6-month course, obviously. But even in those 6 months, you're not grappling. You're only grappling a portion of that time. Right. And so you're expected to go out there and now utilize what the little that they've taught you to now go out and essentially protect other people.
So once you graduate the academy and you do you get your check off on your 40 hours of combative fighting or whatever it is there continuous training on that the department provides, or is that on you?
I wish, Brian. Oh my gosh. No. Yeah.
So it's a no.
No, I wish, dude. No, they should.
This is one of those things, right? This is one of those things to me that just does not make sense. We expect law enforcement officers, especially women. I've been very vocal. Women on the force, out and about on patrol. I have my thoughts about that. Why isn't our government, the state, federal agents, whatever it may be, find local gyms and they have a subscription for members or memberships, or hey, any cop that comes through here, they have their own code or program. So then it's required. So you can go after hours or whatever, find your schedule. Like why we give millions and millions and millions of dollars to all these drug programs where we're giving drug addicts meth and needles and all this shit on the streets. But we want our police officers to be proficient in training, but we don't offer the training. Right?
Yes and no. We offer a lot of departments now, and a lot of gyms now offer discounts. And they have this blue line program where you could, I think it's Adopt a Cop or whatever, where cops can go in there and train for free and the department pays for it. I don't think that's the issue.
That's cool, but
it's a lot of these guys don't want to train. Yeah,
I mean that's like being a Marine and not wanting to be proficient in shooting.
Yeah,
that doesn't make sense to me. You feel as a cop,
right? But now, and for the longest time, departments weren't offering that. A lot of departments still don't go that route where they don't encourage their guys to train. But now it's now you got a lot of departments who are kind of pushing it. But at the end of the day, it's all upon that individual officer if they want to train or not. And I think a lot has to do because you can only do a department could only do so much. And these gyms, they can't force you to do something. I think that's where the issue is you have a lot of these. You almost have to, man. But you have like these guys, they come out of the academy, right, and they're equipped with a badge and gun and all these weapons that they're equipped with in their tool belt, right? You got a taser, you got pepper spray, you got a baton. They're all cool, man. Like you got your
little Batman belt on.
Yeah, you got a Batman belt. You got all these gadgets and stuff. Cool, no problem. But at the end of the day, are they really going to save your life?
No,
no, they're not. you know, because somebody easily can take those away from you and disarm you. Now, what do you have left?
Have you ever had a close call with getting disarmed? I know that's a random question, but
Oh, yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Okay, let's hear this.
Yeah. So this is before training. This is when I was a stupid ass cop, just doing, you know, just thought just because I had a badge and gun and I say people respected me and I can gain compliance that way. But
so you're in the mindset of I have a badge, I'm untouchable.
I'm untouchable. Yeah. And I had the little bit of training that I had in the police academy. I did do a little bit of boxing early on, but that was it, right?
Okay.
I was like, okay, cool. I can pretty much handle any situation. Just
In your
any
mind.
stupid little, yeah. So I responded to this call where these two brothers had a dispute with their neighbor. And I show up and I'm detaining these brothers. And I ask them, hey, I need you to sit down on the curb. One of them does. The little brother does not. And so I'm like, hey, bro, like I told you to sit down on the curb. Does not. I grab him to try to sit him down and he just cold clocks me right straight in my face. And as soon as he does that, the brother that was on the curb got up, tackles me, and now I'm on the ground fighting with these guys. So I have one brother on the ground and the other guy is on top of me on my back and manages to get a hold of my gun, starts to pull it out of the holster. And at that point, I was just like, okay, if this gun comes out of my holster, now I got to worry about the gun while getting my ass kicked at the same time. That's not cool.
What type of holster were you holding? Was it like a lock in, or was it just a straight pull out, like the old school, like button leather strap, or was this like a?
It was a lock in, but the guy managed to unholster
like push
it.
down, push forward type of deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he starts to pull my gun out, and I feel it coming out, and I'm like, oh, dude, this is not good. So I grab it, my gun, and I'm pinching it back down into my holster, and he's pulling it out at the same time, and I'm pushing it back in.
How terrified are you?
Oh, man, it was terrifying. And at the same time, I'm getting socked. I'm getting punched. I'm getting kicked. I'm getting my ass kicked, dude, to be honest with you. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, I can deal with getting my ass kicked because it's not the first time I've gotten my ass kicked, so I could take a beating.
But the gun.
Especially from these guys. But the gun, as soon as that comes out, now we're fighting over the gun.
And now you're down a hand because that's where your whole all of your attention's going. So you're here. So you're fighting two dudes with one hand, essentially.
Yeah, I'm not even fighting. I'm getting my ass kicked.
Okay, yeah. You're just a punching bag.
I'm just surviving. I'm just a punching bag. Well, I'm like, okay, what's worse, me getting killed and shot or just taking a few punches? And these guys, I'm a very small guy, man, and these guys were no bigger than I was. So I'm like, okay, they're like, I'm not taking that much damage, but I am getting socked, and it's no fun. I can live through this. I can go through that, and I can go through pain. I think that's always been a part of me. Is like I can handle pain fairly well. I'm good with it. That's how I grew up, is getting my ass kicked. So I'm like, okay, cool, no problem. And I'm sitting there, and it almost seemed like it was forever, bro.
Yeah.
So I go to click my radio to ask for help, and I barely push on the mic. I think I mustered out maybe a few words. I didn't even say anything. And the guy, one of the brothers, grabs the radio, and he just throws it. So my radio is now across the lawn. My baton is out. My badge is gone. Everything is I'm just getting worked. But I'm holding on to this, and I'm taking punches. I'm getting my ass kicked.
Nobody's come to help you at this point? No
nobody's
neighbors,
come.
nothing?
No. My partner at the time, and I love this guy, man, one of my best friends, and he's on the SWAT team. And he heard something go out on the radio, but he wasn't sure. But he knew it was me. And he pulled up, and he didn't know what was going on. No license here, but when he pulled up, I saw him from the corner of my eye. And even I get chills talking about this.
I got goosebumps on this one.
Yeah. And I see him get out of the car, and I'm like, oh my God, thank God.
Help me, baby Jesus.
Dude, he came out like a bat out of hell, dude. He came up, dude. He just kicked one guy he did like a flying kick. It's weird, bro. He jumped up and just boom, hit the guy that was on top of me.
Mortal Kombat Hadouken
Yeah.
shit. You remember back in the day?
Yeah. And dude, just the feeling, I'll tell you right now, man, like there's no better. That's why I'm saying like being a cop is the best thing ever because you build that connection with your guys, right? And so knowing that, I'm like, dude, this guy's my brother, dude. Like there's like, it's just this love and this bond that unless you're obviously military or a cop, you don't know what that feels like. And so finally we get both these guys in custody. He's, you know, we get him in custody. And at first, man, I was like, shit, everything is up. My sergeant shows up. My nameplate was across the street. My belt was off. Like everything.
How long do you think this fight was?
Man, I don't remember, man. I mean, in my head, it looked like it was going on for like 10 minutes. It was
For
probably a few minutes.
Yeah, I know it's hard to tell time in that.
Yeah, I would say maybe 2 or 3 minutes.
Damn, so your boy got there pretty quick then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
An eternity of survival, but yeah.
You just felt like forever. And at that moment, you know, it's funny, man. Like I was so pissed, man. The little brother that caused it. And he's sitting there with a grin on his face because I knew he got the best of me. He knew he got the best of me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
to get one over on a cop.
Yeah. So he had that grin on his face and like he was cuffed, man. And I mean, yeah, like in my head, I pictured myself doing all these things to this guy. But then there was also another part of me that was like talking to myself, like, you're an idiot, bro. Are you overconfident? I mean, dude, like, what are you doing?
Oh, okay. So reflection time.
It was reflection time. Yeah. And I'm like, it's not, you can't blame. And so I immediately, and this is what I love, like about that situation is that for a brief moment, I got pissed off at him, but then immediately I'm like, hey, it's not his fault, dude. This was you. He's going to do what he knows what to do. Like he's going to do what he grew up doing. That's the only thing he knows. It's just violence and hating cops. That's what he knows. That's his world. This was my fault. I put myself here. Like I got overconfident with no ability, thinking that I can run the show without asking for backup and thinking that I knew better, right? This was 100% on me. This was my fault. And at that moment, I was like, okay, I got it. Never again am I ever going to experience that. Ever. So, yeah, I started training.
No shit. That was it, huh?
That was it, man. I was like, I would rather get my ass kicked on the mat in a controlled environment where I know it's not going to be the first time. Man, I'm comfortable with this stuff, with grappling. You know, growing up, like, you don't know, grappling wasn't a thing. Like, we would just fight, fists. It was that's all we knew, right? That's all we knew.
BJJ gym on every corner like there is now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about the ground. And I'm like, dude, this is my job. If I can't even protect myself, how am I expected to protect anybody else? And the people that trust me to protect, I can't even do that. I can't even protect myself. How am I going to protect my partners? How am I going to protect the community? I can't even help myself. There's something wrong.
That's a great point.
You know?
So did you take it pretty hard?
Oh, I took it really hard, right? Yeah. And then it didn't even get easier. Bro. I joined the gym and then it was like a rude awakening, man. I thought, hey, I'm a cop, man. I can, you know, I'm stupid. I have all this power and everything. And to roll for the first time with some kid who's a computer programmer, you know what I mean? Like
some 13-year-old little girl just mops the floor with you.
Yeah, that's what happened. And so I'm like, oh my God, what am I? Like this guy,
my whole life's been a lie to now.
Yeah. And I'm like, this person doesn't even have to train. You know what I mean? They're playing video games on the side. And my job requires this. And this guy's mopping the floor with me? Oh my gosh.
Check, huh?
This is reality. Like if I was a suspect, if I was a violent dude who robbed people, I would look at some of these guys and be like, oh, easy victim right there. Little do I know the training that they have. Oh my gosh. And that was a rude awakening. I'm like, I can't believe that they're not requiring cops to go through this training. That's when I realized, oh dude, I have to do something.
Do you think departments should implement mandatory jiu-jitsu training?
100%. 100%, man. I tell my guys, because I teach in my department, defense tactics. And pretty much the only people that actually train are the instructors. and some people here on the side here and there,
Mm-hmm.
but nobody wants to, man, because as a cop, man, I'll tell you right now, it's just hard because we all have big egos, right? And the hardest part of jiu-jitsu is the drive there.
Yeah.
Especially with cops.
Yeah.
And then it's so hard because you're so used to like being put on this pedestal after the academy, like, hey, you're equipped with a gun, you're equipped, you have this badge, you got all these weapons. Hey, you're untouchable. And so they have this mindset like, hey, they can't get their ass kicked. And once they do, you think they're ever going to come back? No. They just been exposed.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want that. They don't want that. So I think that's the biggest hurdle that most cops need to get over. It's just like, hey, you got to humble yourself. And you got to know for a fact the drive there is going to suck. You are going to get your ass kicked. It is going to happen. But at the same time, you have to tell yourself too, like, would I rather go through this in a controlled environment where I know it's not going to be the first time? Or do I want to experience this feeling on the street where I'm underneath somebody and I have no clue what to do and I'm going to die, right? Because if that's not your first time and you experience a situation like that, real life, oh shit, I'm not going to die. I've been through this before. This is what I do. This is what I enjoy doing.
There's a level of comfort that comes by knowing.
Exactly.
Like, oh yeah, this guy's on my back. Like
yeah,
I know this. Oh, this
Yeah.
guy's got my leg. I can step out. But if you don't have the training and you just go straight panic mode, you're a new cop. You got the ego, the false power or untouchable status.
Yeah.
Until you get punched in the face.
So you're punched in the face, man. And then now you're in a situation that's like life and death. And that is the first time you're actually going hands-on, that you're experiencing something like that. What do you think is going to happen? A shooting.
So, okay, so you go through that whole scenario, wakes your ass up. You had a 50-50 chance of making it out of that situation.
Oh, yeah. Thank God.
So you get in, So you get into jiu-jitsu, you start training. Let's fast forward a couple of years. So you now, I'd say, pretty proficient in it. What did that do for your mindset? What did it do for your training when you went to the road with it? Did you walk around with more confidence? Was there like a situation that you had to find yourself into? I mean, you're an advocate for this. You go through a situation and fighting two dudes for your life, get into jiu-jitsu. Like how does that help you moving forward? Why should everybody else do this? Is there a scenario of this or?
Oh man. What's funny is, once I started to become more proficient in it, I could not wait to use it out in the street in real life events. And the more proficient I got, I realized that the less I used it.
Okay. Why is that?
Over time, like I realized obviously I gained this confidence and this ability and just this awareness that I had this in my arsenal. And magically what it did is it surprised me in ways that I did not expect at all whatsoever.
Surprised you in a confident way or a de-escalation way? Like what?
So my confidence went up.
Okay.
Right. And I had this ability to now communicate in a way that I was calm and I was able to speak to people and gain compliance. And I was able to persuade and communicate a lot better.
Okay.
And it wasn't something that I kind of did intentionally. It wasn't something that I actually thought about.
Yeah.
But just naturally, it just gave me this confidence where I found my communication skills improving.
Interesting. So you have this tool in your pocket now.
Yeah.
You don't have it on your belt, but you have it in your back pocket.
In my back pocket, and I couldn't wait to use it, but I never used it because I was like, dude, what the heck? But I realized, like, holy shit, like,
interesting.
My communication and my relationship skills and my personal socialization skills, right? Is that a word?
Yeah.
Being able to socialize with people improved.
That's interesting.
And being able to relate to people and being able to speak with somebody where they're talking to you and they're actively threatening to kill you and to kick your ass, and they're up here and you're still kind of maintaining a level of discipline in your calmness, and you're still able to communicate to them while they're still up here. And then you got the pressure of your peers around you, right? And everybody, and when the cops show up on scene, they don't want to look weak in front of their peers. They don't want to appear incompetent in front of their peers, in front of the public. And so there's a level of vulnerability to that, and being able to be vulnerable, not caring. You don't have to prove. I don't have to prove myself to anybody because I know what I'm capable of. So therefore, I can sit there and say, "Hey, bro, I'm sorry, man. This happened. Listen, yeah, we don't want to get hurt. I don't want you to hurt me. I don't want you to hurt my guys. Hey, let's just talk this through." And because the end result is what you really want is everybody to go home safe, number one, and you want to keep your guys safe. You want to keep the public safe. And believe it or not, you want to keep the guy that you're dealing with, the guy who wants to kick your ass, you want to keep him safe at the end of the day. That is your end result. No paperwork, no liability, no nothing. And if that means that you got to kind of make yourself vulnerable and say, all right, dude, like you win. Cool, no problem. In the back of your mind, you're like, okay, like if you get cute, like no problem. Like we can, like we can party. That's fine. But I'm going to do everything that I can to de-escalate this situation without really feeling ashamed of exposing my vulnerability.
It's maturity. It's experience. You have a skill in your pocket.
Yeah.
You've matured during that time of training, and now instead of flying off the hinge and matching the person that's got this attitude toward you, now you're just sitting like, because I know I can fuck you up at the end of the day. So we're just we're cool. Just relax. We don't need to go this route. That's a fascinating perspective. Look, that you would think my instant reaction or my instant thought would be, you get all this training and now you're just hip tossing dudes and choking everybody out on the streets.
Cool,
when it gets to that point, but instead you're now you're confident. Now you can just talk to people. You're not scared, so you're not reacting off of them, which is just doing this in a scene.
And you're just both.
Where do you go from there?
You don't go. And it's a lot of these cops, man. They're so trained. They don't want to look dumb. They don't want to look like they're a coward. They don't want. So they got to keep that image. They got to keep that image. Like, hey, you're not going to make me look like a fool.
Got to be louder. Got to be tougher. Got to be bigger. Everything that comes with it.
Exactly. And where does that lead you? Now you're just thinking with your ego. Now you're just thinking with your pride.
Where does that get you?
Yeah. There's no sound judgment in that. They're not really bringing it down and kind of seeing everything clearly and saying, okay, cool. What is it that I need to do now? Yeah, this guy wants to kick me out. Okay, cool. No big deal. Will it suck? Yeah, it's going to suck if we go hands on. Yeah, of course. I don't want to. In fact, I don't like street fights, to be honest with you. I do not, because I don't like getting hurt. I'm not going to lie. I don't like getting hurt. So that's why I try to talk myself.
Who does?
Yeah.
It's not fun getting punched.
No, it sucks.
Even
if you're going to kick the guy, it just sucks, man. Like, no, dude, nothing good ever comes from a street fight, dude. Even if you win that fight.
Yeah, because you end up on the ground, you got road rash, your elbows are tore up, your knees are skid up, you just...
The lawsuits?
The hands, it sucks. Yeah, it's crazy to think that a lot of officers wait for that moment to get caught up in a scenario where you feel defenseless, or you get into a major fist fight with somebody that knows what they're doing, or somebody that's high on PCP and you don't know how to control them.
Right.
Because that's another thing too, that people, I think a lot of civilians don't realize, and just through my years of executive security and doing crazy things, is detaining somebody without hurting somebody is very difficult. To try to manipulate somebody, to hold somebody when they're fighting for their life, and you're doing everything you can to not hurt this person, but they're just out of control, or they're in that moment where they're not realizing what's happening. And then let's take a woman that's just fighting her ass off against a male officer. It's like, dude, I could just pick this woman up, slam her, hit her, whatever it may be.
Right.
But You don't want to just immediately go to that.
Of course.
So that if you have proper training, you know how to manipulate an arm and a wrist and a leg or whatever it may be, whoever the suspect is at that time. That's why it is such a crucial skill to have in life, but let alone police officers. And I would probably be terrified if they did a statistic on how many cops actually train a combative sport versus cops that don't.
Oh.
And you're in one of the most combative jobs in our country.
Yeah. Like I said, it should be a requirement.
100%.
And it's a skill, just like you said, to be able to control somebody without hurting them, and then prioritizing control over pain compliance. Because if somebody's high on PCP, there is no pain compliance, and all you have is control. And being able to control somebody in itself is a skill.
Have you ever had to deal with somebody on PCP that was at that high that there's no pain compliance, there's nothing that's doing it, you have to go hands on?
Yep.
What's that like?
Oh man, it's horrible. It's they feel no pain, they have no self-awareness, and it almost seems like their strength is like that of 10 dudes. It's crazy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Gotta be scary.
Oh, dude, it's terrifying. And there's no, like I said, there's no pain compliance. They have no clue what's going on. A lot of the times they're sometimes naked.
I feel like a lot of times they're naked.
Yeah. It's like they're naked.
They get hot.
They're sweaty.
Like, what is it?
So.
Their body's just frying, so they start shredding clothes. Like, why do they have people on PCP? You always see them
that's
running down the street butt-ass naked.
Just naked, right? So, you're fighting naked people, naked dudes. They're sweaty, you're slippery. It's just, and so having that skill, like knowing how to control them without hurting them, I think like every cop, as I'm saying, I think it should be a requirement that every cop should at least possess a blue belt, at least.
How long does that take to earn in a legit gym?
You can get a blue belt. I mean, if you're consistent with your training, in a few years.
Okay.
In a few years, if you're consistent, and all that requires is just basic knowledge on how to use your own body as leverage, gravity, and the floor, right, as
a tool.
A tool, right? Because I've rolled with guys or most of the guys that I train with are a lot bigger than me, so I've had to learn how to use leverage in my weight in particular areas to hold them down, so I feel, to me, like I think every cop needs to have that some level of training other than what they get in the academy. And
it would make sense.
It makes sense. And a lot of cops will go through their entire career without having to use a level of force that requires that. And a lot of times, if you're lucky, then you end up in a position like where I ended up, where you're hit with reality and you're like, holy shit, like, I'm not as badass as I thought I was. I got to do something now.
Yeah, but it usually takes getting checked.
It usually takes getting checked. Yeah.
And it's how hard you get checked.
Yeah. And even if you do, and some of these guys, when they do get checked, they're like, oh, okay, cool. Well, I'll just, next time I'll just, they got lucky. Yeah. Well, next time I'll just carry my taser over here. I won't have it over, so it's easily accessible. I got my pepper spray. Maybe I should. No, dude, like, come on. You know what I mean? Like, all you have sometimes are your hands and feet.
Yeah.
In your mind.
You mentioned tasers really quick. When you, as a cop, and you draw your taser, is there something in your head where you're like, oh God, I don't want to do this, but at the same time I do want to do this, but this dude has no idea what's about to hit him. I mean, is there a sense of compassion? Because I feel I would have been the cop that I'm tasing everybody. I see these cops and they're in these huge situations and they're, get on the ground, get on the ground, get up. Like, I'm not having this conversation. I'm just tasing everybody. But is there a thing, a little bit that goes through your head where you're like, oh man, like I don't want to do this.
Yeah. I don't want to do this, but I kind of do. Yeah. So early on in my career, way before I started training, I got sent to this traffic accident that was on the other side of the city.
Okay.
And to me, it was just a traffic accident. I show up and there's a crowd full of people gathered around, and there's this guy and he's just punching this guy on the floor. And people are trying to get him off of this other guy, and he sees me, he squares up, and then he runs in the middle of this busy intersection, turns around, and then threatens to fight me. So I'm like, okay, this is crazy, man. Like, I can't believe this guy's doing this. And I look around, and there are a few people who are kind of bloody. He had beat a lot of people up.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, he was just off. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, this guy's on PCP. All right, cool, no problem. I take my baton out. I start striking him. No effect at all whatsoever.
What's going through your head when you whack somebody with a baton?
Oh, I was like, dude, I can't. What the heck? Like, this guy's not going down.
This is not how it's supposed to work.
Yeah, it's not how it's supposed to work. Like in the academy, this guy went down.
The academy, they fall every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening, right?
Mhm.
And I only used, in my entire career, I think I used a taser maybe twice.
Really?
Yeah, and he was, I think, my second time.
Okay.
Yeah, and just because of the paperwork that follows along with it, and just all this other stuff, and I didn't really want to be reliant on the taser.
Okay.
You know, it's just, I was like, okay, I'm relying on this mechanism that's battery operated to always function, right? I'm relying on that, right? And sometimes we know how it is, like things malfunction, and you know,
Or it doesn't get a good prong
right.
stick.
And so what do you have next? Now you got to go to other things. So I pull my taser out, tase him, boom, he goes down, and I'm tasing him, and right in the middle of me tasing him, giving him like a 5-second ride, he starts to get up, and I'm like, oh,
That's not normal.
that's not normal, dude. I was like, oh, dude, what's going on, man? I don't like this, dude. And everybody's watching me. The reason I'm going on the other side of the city is because it was busy that day. So the officers that have that particular beat were already on high priority calls.
Okay.
So I'm by myself. There is no help. We're so busy that dispatch had to dispatch another officer from a different city to come help me.
In this scenario?
In this
It got that bad?
It got bad. It got really bad.
Okay. Let's hear this.
So this female officer shows up, and she's just like, "Hey, I'm going to help you." I'm like, "Okay." The prongs are still in him. I don't know why I did this. I was brand new. I was a rookie. I give her my taser, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go hands on."
If I tell you to hit it. One of those scenarios? Is that how this was going down?
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm gonna cuff him while you have this, and the prongs are him. Well, I'm holding him, and I'm touching him where the prongs, in between the prongs.
Okay.
She hits it, and I'm like getting shocked at the same time, right? So I'm telling her, "Hey, dude, don't only hit it when I tell you to hit it. Don't do it now, because I'm trying to arrest this guy, dude.
Yeah, you're shocking me.
You're shocking me, dude." Dude, after about 5 minutes, I finally get this guy in custody.
What's going on in this 5 minutes?
Oh, he's fine. Like, he's kicking my ass the entire time. Like, he's not letting me arrest him, like nothing. I was just this little kid. Like, I just didn't know what, you know what I mean? I'm like, like, settle down. And I'm getting, like, it was
Stop resisting.
Chaos.
Stop resisting.
Stop resisting. Yeah, it was just pure chaos.
You're yelling at him.
When I look at this officer, she is as new as I am. And I'm
So you
like,
have 2 rookies on this call?
yes. And I'm like, oh, dude, like, oh, this is not good. I finally get him in cuffs, and now we got to transport him through ambulance. We tie him up on the gurney, his hands and feet, and I'm with him going to the hospital. We get to the hospital. In the emergency room, he breaks his ties. He breaks the straps. I don't know. And so the entire time I'm thinking this guy's on PCP, right? We had to tase him. I don't even know how many times in the hospital again. My battery runs out, my taser. And we're just,
What?
yeah, it was just chaos.
Are you like dry stunt? What is it called when you?
We're dry hitting them with this taser. Dry stunning them.
What is that like? Dry stunning somebody?
It doesn't
They're
work.
just squirming, so you
It's
only
just
get like a
squirming.
split second.
Yeah, you only get a
right?
split second, and it's only localized in that particular area that you're.
Which is to inflict a little pain so they
That's
stop
it.
fighting. So clearly it's not working on this guy.
It's not working at all whatsoever. I have nurses and doctors and medical staff and security staff from the hospital trying to hold this guy down. And I'm looking at this doctor like, hey, dude, is there something that you can give this guy to put him out? Finally, the doctor shows up, hits him with the needle. Don't know what he gives him. Hits him with the needle, and this guy's just out completely. Goes out. So we get his blood work done, right? And I'm just curious what the hell happened with this guy. Well, this guy did a number on the public. He ended up punching a pregnant lady.
Oh,
he got in a car wreck, punched a pregnant lady, and then ran his, and then he tried to carjack somebody at the gas station. It was just a nightmare. And there was another victim that he had beaten up, and that was a guy that was on the ground when I showed up, that he was beating up. So in my mind, I'm like, hey, this guy's on a good one. He's on PCP for sure. There's no doubt about it. Like, this guy's on a really good one, man. There's no way this guy caused so much damage and was not on something. So fast forward, the next day, he's still admitted in the hospital because now we got to take him to county. So we're watching him 24 hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
The next day, I show up because now I'm just interested. I'm like, I'm curious to find out what happened to this guy.
Yeah.
I walk in his room. I kid you not. And he's awake and he's looking at me and he's just like, "What's up, dude?" And he's all messed up, right? And he's eating, and I'm like, "Dude, they took his straps out. Like, what's going on?" So I'm like, "Hey, what's going on, bro?" And he's like, "Nothing. What are you doing?" I'm like, you don't remember me? Yeah. And he's all, "Dude, I kid you not, Brian." He's eating, and he's got like orange. He's got a bottle of orange juice across the room. He goes, "I don't know who the hell you are." He goes, "In fact, why don't you do me a favor? Go grab that orange juice for me." I was like, "What the like, how do you not remember?" So I talked to the doctor, and he was like, "Hey, there was no PCP. There was nothing in his blood." And so he concluded that he had excited delirium. And I had no clue.
Excited delirium?
I had no clue what that was.
The hell's excited delirium?
I guess you cross this threshold in your mind. I don't know what it is, where it's just like you're just amped up the entire time. You have no clue what's going on. And I don't know if it's a chemical imbalance that goes on in your brain.
I feel like that's the only thing it could be.
Yeah.
That's to send you into a state where you don't even remember and you're fist fighting the world.
Yeah.
Excited delirium.
Yeah.
I'll never have to look that up.
Yeah. So
it wasn't like some insulin thing or
no,
like you just had a relapse or something.
No,
So
yeah.
he went through all of that and he wasn't even high the whole entire time?
He wasn't high. No. It was not, there was
Did he have a record or anything? Do you remember?
I don't remember him having a record. He may have. No, I don't think he did.
That's
he
insane.
just snapped. You know, he just snapped, and it was one of those things I've never seen that ever. You know.
Yeah, he would probably remember you if you ran a taser dry on him.
Yeah, and dude, he's all messed up, and I was like, dude, like, you don't remember, like, and I would explain, like, you don't remember anything. He's like, no, I don't even know why I'm here. Yeah.
Well,
So
let me tell you.
Yeah, that was that was one of the times where I had to use a taser, and that didn't even work.
Yeah, so if you don't have your skills,
but at the time I was in training.
Yeah.
You know, I felt like if I was, at least I would have been able to control him, right?
For sure.
But no, and that's those are the times where I just kind of didn't know any better, right? And I just relied, hey, they gave me all these tools, I could use them now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You can't. It's a false sense of security.
For sure. Let's shift gears a little bit. I want to get into the PTSD dark side of law enforcement, what's causing a lot of this stuff, because I know it's hard to talk about certain things. I'll ask some questions and, you know, it might be tough for you to talk about, but I like to paint a picture for my audience that's listening, because I feel the majority of people have no idea what goes on in a cop's life. We have these images, the way that their media paints you guys. Everybody, all cops are bad, defund the police, but we don't truly know what is going on out in your day-to-day life. So I want to kind of dive into this, because I feel a lot of guys come to a crossroad in these dark times, and we'll see where you took it and what you're doing now with it versus what a lot of cops probably do. So let's dive into some shit about some calls that were probably stuck with you. What's your most memorable call as far as being on that one that really changed you?
There was there was quite a few. But one that really kind of stood out to me was, and I won't get into too much detail,
Yeah.
but there was a triple homicide in our city back 2007, I believe. It was a Memorial Day weekend, and there was this family that just got slaughtered. And dispatch gets a call where one of the employees didn't show up for work over the weekend. And they were like, hey, we need you to go out and check this house. And I was the third officer on scene. The first two officers had already cleared the house. And what they found, and they ended up walking me through everything, but what they found and what I saw, and I was on probation. I was probably a couple of just months on my own, right? But maybe less than a year on my own. Didn't have a lot of experience. Didn't know what this call was about. But I show up, and it was just something that I'll never forget. There was one, when we walk in the house, there's all the rooms are shut, right? And like I said, the two officers that showed up before, they've already cleared the house.
Okay.
Right? They already saw what they saw. But I go up to just check it out, and there's this woman who is hogtied, face down on the bed, and she has her throat slit completely, almost decapitated, and her hands and feet are tied behind her. She's just laying down on the bed. And the next room over is a 6-year-old boy in his Spider-Man pajamas on his bed. And he's got stab wounds in the back of his head and his neck. And in the office, the dad was beaten and tortured. He had stab wounds to his back and his neck and stuff. He's dead. We go back inside the mom's room where she was at, and there was a 7-month-old baby alive in the worst diaper rash that you could ever imagine. She's just barely kind of hanging on, surviving. And she's still alive. We get her out of the house. We end up giving her water because she's severely dehydrated.
Oh, so these people have been here for a little bit?
For an entire weekend.
Oh, and there's a 7-month-old baby just
was there alone. Yeah. Next to her, mom who's dead. So, so I was brand new, and I didn't know how. Thank God I didn't have any kids. I didn't have a family then. I was a single dude, and I was living on my own. I didn't know how to process any of that stuff, right? I didn't know how to process that. And so I remember my boss at the time, it was these old school guys, and he was just he goes, hey man, listen, you're still on probation. This is probably the worst call that you'll ever go to in your entire life.
Was it?
Yes.
Okay.
This is probably the worst call, right? I had a baby die in my arms, but that right there is that they're different, right?
Were you a dad at that point?
I was a dad at that point. That one was rough, yeah. So he was so after that incident, the triple homicide, he was just and like I said, dude, I didn't, I showed up after the fact, and it was these senior officers that kind of walked me through that scene. And I'm glad I wasn't there beforehand, because my head would be spinning. My head was already spinning. But he was hey, listen, this is the worst thing you're ever going to see in your entire career. I really believe this is the worst thing. he goes, what do you have at home to drink? And I was like, just a little bit of Jack Daniels, half a bottle. He's okay. Drink some of that and show up to work tomorrow, and you're gonna be fine.
After walking in on a triple
Yeah.
homicide and the worst thing you've ever seen. That was
yeah.
your.
That was my thing. I didn't have any kids though, so I didn't know, like, the thing that the way it affected me was this: is when I got home that day, I took his advice. I drank the entire bottle, and before I went to bed, I would search my entire house. Like I had a roommate. I shared. I rented a room for my buddy, but I was searching the entire house. Right. And then at that point, I started sleeping next to my gun constantly. Because I always replay, like, oh, man, what if this happens? I don't want to get, tortured. And for a long time, every time I'd come home, I would search the outer perimeter, inner perimeter. I would search everything inside the house before I went to bed.
Interesting.
Yeah. I kind of still do that. I'm not gonna lie. Like I still, so I started to do that. But I didn't have any kids, so I couldn't really, the boy really, I didn't relate to that.
Yeah.
So that's how we handled it, right? And I don't think that had a lasting effect on me. Looking back when I talk about it, even right now, it kind of like, it's maybe a little bit uneasy, but for me, I've been able to process it.
Okay.
And I've been able to kind of separate myself from that evil part of, just, I don't know, humanity.
Has that always been the case? Have you always been able to do that? Or was there any that stuck? How do you do a career in law enforcement and you just detach yourself from everything like that?
Like I say, I think it's what you do outside of work too.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I think a lot has to do with outside of work. And I do my best to try to maintain good relationships outside, family and friends in my circle, to remind myself, hey, dude, like the world is still good. There's a lot of good people, right? It's a handful of people, unfortunately, are just evil, and that is the world that you live in, and that is the world that you work in. Not live in. I'm sorry, that is the world that you work in.
Living it is not. That's the problem when cops start to live in that world.
When cops start to live in that world. And so you have to consciously remind yourself and kind of take yourself out of that and kind of separate yourself from that entire world, even the department itself.
For sure. So you go through that, you have this life outside of law enforcement. But you mentioned you had a kid die in your arms and you were a father. How do you process? How does that not affect you? I mean, these things have to be planting seeds of some sort in some sort of way.
Yeah, yeah.
Even if you have a life outside of law enforcement, you're walking on triple homicide and a live baby still, and then the death, the suicides you pull up on, the kids now. I mean, I don't even know how cops are dealing with these kid suicides. Like that would wreck me.
Oh man, that's rough there.
Is that, I mean, look at, I got a buddy that's here in Meridian. He's like, bro, I'm on a call almost every day with some kid trying or made an attempt or cry for help. He's like, it's fucking wild.
It's out there, man. And, like, you have to learn, and you say, I reflect a lot on these calls. I reflect because I know that I can take something useful from it.
Okay.
And I think that's how I process it. Because I'm like, hey, what led to this person doing this? Like you mentioned suicide, these kids committing suicide. It's so, it's heartbreaking, man. It breaks my heart every time I walk into that stuff, right? When I see, some kid, I'm like, dude, like, if you had just reached out to somebody, you know what I mean? And rather and the signs are there. That's the thing. And I'm like, dude, your family didn't pick up on these signs. Like, and I start to go down these rabbit holes and be like, dude, the signs, because I see, and then what I do too is I don't just stop at just the incident alone. I talk to everybody. I talk to family, friends, and be like, hey, like, how was he leading up to this? Right? Well, he started drinking a lot. He came back from war. He started drinking a lot, started playing video games.
Self-isolated.
Started isolating himself, And when you start to isolate yourself, that's a clear indication that something is up.
Every time.
You know?
Every time.
And you start to see the empty beer bottles. You start to see the mess. You start to see the chaos. You start to see that nobody's in this guy's life, right? Because he's holding it all in himself. And he's not reaching out to anybody. So I start to ask questions and be like, hey, what are these signs? Well, why does somebody get to that point? You know, and then I start to realize, and I start to kind of work backwards and say, I don't want that for myself.
Yeah.
I don't want that. I want a good life. I am happy, man. I'm so blessed to have the life that I have now. And that's what I constantly think about too, is I'm so grateful to have the life that I have now. I'm completely honest with you. Like my family, my friends, I have a lot of support. I have really good, strong relationships that I can reach out to. And that's the thing. Like when I feel that I am kind of going down that road, I ask myself, okay, are you isolating yourself from people? How are your relationships? When was the last time you went out and hung out with your family? When was the last time you went out and you hung out with your friends? When was the last time you went out to go train? When was the last time you drank water? When was the last time you stayed hydrated? When was the last time that you ate healthy? When was the last time you got a good 7-8 hours of sleep? That's a big one. You know, when was the last time you did these? You have to go when you got to actually check mark these things and go, oh shit, no, I haven't done this. Well, of course I'm going to feel like this, right? Because I'm in my own head. I'm in my own thoughts. And I'm replaying these moments of being on these calls and these incidences where I'm experiencing this.
Yeah.
You know? And I can go down that rabbit hole, and I have done that where I'm like just in my own world, and all of a sudden I'm just shutting everybody out.
Yep.
Because I don't know how to process it.
Or who to talk to.
Or who
to lean on. You can't go to your department if you're struggling. You got a kid
Yeah.
dying in your arms, or you getting involved shooting or something critical incident that as a cop, and then I hear so many stories of these cops are like, they're struggling, but you go to the department and you're flagged.
Yeah. Well, because there's a stigma behind that.
Yeah.
Right? There's a stigma. Like, hey, if you experienced something like that affects you, well, guess what, dude? You have a problem. You're not fit for this job. Right?
But meanwhile, this dude's 12, 13, 14. It could be your first day. I mean, we listened to David's episode. His first day on the job dealt with 4 dead bodies and a suicide.
That's crazy. Yeah.
First day on the job. But I mean, so it could literally be your first day, or you could be any point in your career. That you have that triggering moment that you need to talk to somebody. Then you don't, and you're bottling it, and then it's just you're just pushing and bearing over a career. And it's like, and that's where I'm sure you've seen it. And this is why it's like a breath of fresh air to talk to somebody that's okay. Like you realize, which I'd like to know when you realize when did being a cop start to change you as a person, and then have to snap out of that. Because I mean, dude, you got kids, they're all teenagers.
Beautiful kids, man.
Yeah, you're very blessed, man. You have a marriage after 19 years in law enforcement.
Beautiful wife.
Like how? What's the secret for these young men that are listening? How do you get to this point? I know it's a lot of luck and having probably an incredible wife that you probably have put through hell.
She's beautiful. Yeah, beautiful wife.
To get to this point, like how did you separate yourself as a cop to not be the statistic of all these officers we hear about? Like, what did you do, and what point did you start realizing, like, hey, this is my life, or hey, this is more important than this badge that consumes everything?
Because once I realized, like, there's other people who depend on you.
Besides the civilian population you're speaking of?
Civilian.
Okay.
There's other people in my life that depend. And if I keep going down this road, what kind of human beings are they going to grow up to be like?
Okay.
Right. Now, can I change the outside world? Can I change a community? We all like to think that we do. Like we all like, oh man, I'm going to change the world. Like,
make a little difference here and there.
I had that mindset, and I still do, man. I think like it's okay to have that mindset, but realistically, how much of an impact are you going to have? You can only do so much, and I accept that. I'm okay with that. But now I'm like, where do I have the biggest impact? Where can I create meaningful, loving human beings? Oh, my kids.
How long did it take? How many years were you in before this clicked in you?
Oh, I would say maybe, to be completely honest with you, Brian, July of 2025, man.
Really? So recently, so 19,
19
19 years in, you're realizing your family, that I don't want to say neglected your family,
Yeah.
but you put the community over your family for 19 years.
Mm.
And how did you make this work?
Oh, I'll tell you. Okay. So July, I go on vacation. I'm off for a month. But I told myself, and I didn't know this was going to happen, but I told myself within this month, I'm not going to use my phone. I'm not going to use my phone. And that's just for me, personal reasons, right? I want to be present with my family. And it wasn't until then, that month, no phone, no distraction, none of that, that I finally realized what I was doing to my kids and the separate worlds that they were in and not being engaged. But you don't know that until you kind of remove all the fat, you trim all the fat and you move all the distractions. And now you're able to clearly see, holy shit, man, what the hell am I doing? Like my kids, like they're doing their own thing. Like, I'm not teaching them anything. They're in their own little world. I don't, they don't want to be around me. You know
how's
what I
that
mean?
as a dad, realizing your kids, after you've sacrificed 19 years to your job, that your kids don't want to be around you?
Oh man. It was bittersweet. It was bitter because it sucks.
For sure.
It sucks, dude, because it's just like,
it's hard to probably even say.
yeah.
and hear yourself say that my kids, like, I would.
Yeah.
I mean,
And it's not on them. Oh, dude, it's not on them. Would I want to be around myself? No.
Yeah, that's on you, homie. Like
Yeah.
that's that, but that goes back to where we get
Yeah.
trapped as cops and active military guys, where it's,
Yeah.
this is my job, this is my life, this is my life.
This
But
is my life. This is who I
in
am.
reality, the biggest, most greatest blessing is your family. That's your life. This is a job. This is a chapter. Your wife and children, that's your life, right? And so that's where.
And I didn't realize that too. And it was around that time that I truly finally found my faith. And it was just all mixed. And I think the entire time God is talking to you, right? And you're not listening, but he's there all the time.
Absolutely.
And it wasn't until then that I started to listen, because I took away those distractions, and I'm like, oh my gosh. But going back on like that feeling of, man, my kids don't want really to be around me, like, man, like, oh, dude, there's no other human beings in this world that I love the most in this world besides my wife and my kids. Mm-hmm. That's my circle. Just like it's your circle, it's my circle. And it was underneath my nose the entire time. And to have that realization, like, I'm not the dad that I thought I was. And just because I'm putting a roof over your head, and just because I'm feeding you, and just because you have clothes and you go to good schools and you don't go without, doesn't necessarily make me a good dad. Mm-mm. Those are just necessities. Those are just basic things. That's the bare minimum. It's a bare minimum. How am I engaged in their life? Or do they know God? Do they have a relationship with God? I'm supposed to be the spiritual leader of my household. Am I doing that? No. So of course they're going to build that resentment towards you, So once I started to realize that, that's when I'm like, oh my God, dude, like, what am I doing? My job as a dad is not to be their friend. It's not to, do I want them to like me? Yes, of course.
For sure.
But my job is to make them loving human beings.
And how are you doing that when you're dedicating everything to a job?
Right. So once I started to shift my focus on that, that's when I realized, like, oh, dude, I have a way bigger purpose than just being a cop. My purpose is to be the best father, be the best husband, because they deserve it, number one. And number two, God has called me to do that. That's my job. That's my purpose, is to serve God, serve my family.
That's why I wish a lot of guys in these industries, law enforcement, military guys, would check themselves and really think, when I'm on my deathbed or my kid's going to be standing next to me like, damn, Dad, so glad we moved 15 times in 20 years. Damn, Dad, I'm so glad that you arrested all those people and missed all of my games, weren't there for my practices, skipped daddy-daughter dances because you were chasing the bad guy to protect. They're not going to care.
No.
They don't give a shit, and that's where we get so tied up. It's me is what I'm doing. This is what makes me the husband, the man. I'm the provider. But meanwhile, your children are like, where's Dad?
Yeah.
They just want you to be present. But you're going to be on your deathbed one day. And dude, I say it all the time, man. I want each kid, if I'm blessed enough to have them like my grandkids, I'm dabbing them up. We did it. We did it.
Because that's what they're going to remember. Your kids don't give a shit if how many people you arrested or how many bad guys you chased down or what the fuck you did or the fucking medals you won or anything like that. You know what they're going to remember? Like, man, I remember that, man, we cooked together. He went to my performance. Oh, man. To have that realization, like, hit me so hard, dude. Yeah. And it was so bad, going back just really quick, that in that month, like, I felt like, dude, they don't want to be around me. And the only way I was able to be around, like, my son, too, is I would wait for him to fall asleep. And I would go up to him, and I would just rub his head while he was sleeping, because that was the only time that I could get close to him.
Ugh, that hurts.
Not his fault. That's mine.
Mm-hmm. That was a gut check, huh?
That was a fucking gut check right there. And that was the moment where I reflected a lot. And that's the moment where I was involved in the SWAT team. I was an instructor for ACT. I still am. But I'm like, okay, I got to cut some of this out. My kids are growing, dude. And yes, do I want to have fun? Do I want all these things at work? Yeah. But, dude.
What's more important?
Yeah. And I remember.
Your SWAT boy's going to be standing at your bedside when you're 80 years old? Some dude, the way after you retire. How many of these guys are going to reach out after you retire?
Probably a handful.
For how long?
Probably one or two. I don't know. Yeah. But, you know, I stood up in front of that team and I was like, hey, guys, I'm sorry, man. Like, my family is calling me. And
that's nothing to be sorry for.
Yeah.
Ever. Fuck them. No, they're your boys. Fuck everybody. Fuck everybody. When it comes to your family, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I'll never apologize for putting my family first. Ever.
Yeah.
Because I put everything else first, dude. I'm with you, man. I chased everything for so long.
Yeah. And
that was what was important. It fed my ego, fed my pride, fed my image.
Yeah. And you know, lucky for me, man, I think God was on my side the entire time. You know, you come to a point where the dust settles and you're just like, wow, like, this is it.
Time to make some changes.
Time to make some changes. Just like you said, I want to be on my deathbed, and I want to be like, I want my kids to be like, dude, Dad, like, he was there, you know, my wife, and like, dude, like, you know, and you don't realize that until, you know, you kind of, you self-reflect, and that requires you to be honest with yourself. That requires you to be completely, brutally just raw and honest and going, what am I doing? Like, how, like, is this really worth it at the end of the day? No, to feed my own pride and to feed my own ego.
For a badge.
For a medal.
For a community.
For a good job.
The second you leave and nobody ever speaks to you again.
100%. Yeah.
For what? That's why you hear these guys. It's so sad to me. And it's like, yeah, man, I got out after 25 years as a cop and I haven't heard from anybody ever again. Well, now you don't hear from your kids. You don't hear from your first wife or second wife. Right? Like,
yeah.
Cool. So now you just sacrificed 15, 20 years for a badge or a rank in the military, whatever you're dedicating, tech world, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be cops. We get so consumed in what makes us as this image of our job or titles or positions. And no one cares.
Nobody cares. And
unless you're a doctor and you're curing cancer and your kids are gonna be like, holy shit, my dad cured cancer. You're just going to work every day to grind it out and you're bringing that shit home?
No.
Putting that first?
And dude, I can't tell you how many birthdays, Christmases, you know, when My dad passed away. I was on duty.
Could you have been there? Was it sudden or was it
No,
coming?
I could have been there, but I was blaming everybody. I was on duty, dude.
And you live with that one? Do you hold that?
Yeah. It haunts me every day. I was on duty, on fucking duty, dude. And I remember seeing him on duty. I went to the emergency room and I remember telling the doctor, I'm like, hey, how much time do I got left? How much time has he got? I need you to be honest with me, bro. Like, how much time has he got left? He goes, to be honest with you, I would take that uniform off, come back. Like, you need to be here. Went home. Oh, he said he had a day. Went back to the station, told my sergeant, hey, man, I'm going to change out. By the time I came back to the room, he was gone. Why?
For a badge.
So now when somebody comes to me, one of my guys, and they're like, hey, I'm struggling with my or I got family here at the hospital, or I'm dealing with this, dude, I go, hey, bro, listen, what are you doing here? Get out of here.
Why are you even asking me this?
Go. And so now I'm like, never again am I ever going to have anybody else experience this. Because at the end of the day, that'll haunt you forever, and you're going to have to live with that. Mm-hmm. So now I have guys who are like, hey, man, like, you know, I have family that, you know, is sick or whatever it is. I trust them. I go, okay, dude, family first, man. Always. Family first. We'll take care of what needs to be taken care of here. Go take care of your family.
How many guys finish out a whole career and never get an aha moment like you? Imagine if you didn't take a month off and put your phone away. Would you be sitting here right now having this conversation?
No. Mm-mm.
But because you unplugged, went back to reality, consumed yourself with what was truly important. Holy shit. No, my son doesn't even want to speak to me. My daughters just come and go. They just pass by me.
I'm going to tell you right now, Brian, now my kids love me. They want to be with me. My son absolutely adores me.
Good.
I think I told you this last Father's Day, oh my God, that was the moment in my life that I will always remember. It's one of the best days of my life because I was pouting the entire day because they saved all their cards for the end of the day. And I was like, whoa, man, nobody got me anything, man. Like, whoa, this is my day. You know, like nobody got me cards. Like, what the fuck? You know, just stupid. Yeah. Just playing victim.
We don't want anything. Well, Dad, I'm good. I don't need anything but
love card with me. At the end of the day, dude, I sat there, I read all the cards.
Bawled your eyes out.
At that point, dude, at that moment, I knew at that moment that I was doing something right. At that moment, I'm like, okay, I'm blessed.
And it's never too late.
Never too late. I'm truly blessed.
I talked to a lot of men. They watched my episode with my daughter, and we've been through hell and back together. And it's too late, man. My daughter's 16 now. It's too late. Dude, I don't care if you're 80 years old and you got grown out, you got great grandchildren. Fix your relationship with your children. Fix it. It's never too late.
It's never too late. And you know what that requires is you letting go of all that ego and all that pride and knowing, dude, that you're going to have to just sit there in that pain and just take it.
But that's what you need to feel.
Yeah.
Your feelings again. Yeah. Not numb anymore. I'm not turned off because this is my job that I do all day and dealing with death and anger and violence and drugs and prostitution and kid shit. You got to turn all that off.
You have to turn it off, and you have to understand too, hey, dude, that's just a small part of the world.
It's your job.
That's just the evil part of the world. There's good people out there, bro.
If you aren't walking home and your kids aren't putting that smile on your face, probably time to start reflecting on what's going on in your life. That's why I grew up with a dad that don't talk to dad for 20, 30 minutes. We don't even speak to dad. When he walks in the door, you don't talk to dad. That was my whole life growing up. My dad, he has to decompress. Let your father decompress. Let your dad decompress. This motherfucker's working like a state job, like plowing and digging ditches and shit. Yeah. And he was coming home with that anger and those issues. I had to let him sit. I look back and now like, motherfucker, like.
Because his mood dictated if you guys were going to be happy, if you guys were going to have a good day or not. Mm-hmm. I don't want that.
No, bro. Walk in the house, the whole mood shifts.
The whole mood shift. No, dude, like that's selfish to me. I'm not saying your dad's, but to me, doing that.
It's 100% selfish.
Yeah.
That's that generation of thinking. That's
Yeah.
why it's up to guys like us to break those chains.
Break the pattern.
I'm not going to be like this. My
Right.
kids, I don't want my kids to have to, oh, dad's home, dad's home. Look,
Walking on eggshells.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
we just had a big thing here where I didn't know, but every time I'd see it, like, hey, what are we working on? What do we got? Hey, do you got this done? Or has this been a complete? So, but it created this trigger in this house. Whenever I'd come home, everybody jump up and start looking, and then it gets brought up, and I'm like, oh, we're fucking done with that.
Yeah, yeah.
If you're chilling, but it was one of those, what? But it was the old version of me. What are we doing? Why are we, like something's always to be done? Like,
Yeah,
did you get your work done? Have you done this yet? How's your room? I'm just. But it was this reaction, and then they call me out on it. And my wife's like, we're done living like this. And I'm like, fuck, I didn't even know. But it was just my reactions. And so it's just,
Right.
But checking, they're like, why? I'm like, why are you guys jumping up? Like, I know you were just laying there. And they're like, well, that's what got it brought up. I'm like, holy shit, this is all trauma response from how I want my house run.
100%.
Which is stupid.
And for the longest time, you probably didn't realize that.
I had fucking no idea.
Yeah, yeah. And you're like, holy shit, dude, what am I creating, dude? Like everybody's on eggshells. That's the moment that I walk in, everybody's on eggshells. My wife, my kids, and it's like, dude, the whole world does not revolve around me.
My world should revolve around them.
Yes. Yes. And I can see that, when I met your family, I'm like, oh my God, this guy's doing something right. Good.
Try.
Good. And you could tell you're doing something right by your kids and your wife.
Thank
they
you.
love you to death, man. They love you. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, you got lucky, bro.
I did.
Finding out when you did. Finding out realizing when you did. There's a lot of cops that never, and they have no same with military guys, veterans. They have no idea. They've lost their children. Oh, I talk to guys. Yeah, my daughter hasn't talked to me in 5 years. Bro, we go a day and I don't see her. I'm like, where is she? Where are we doing? Get out of here. I know. Like, I get mad when she's not around. That was the thing that I had to process.
Yeah, yeah.
Now that she's in this dating age and these boys and all this other shit. Yeah. But I'm like, and that's one of those things is I had to slowly check, like, because I'm so used to it. I want that. I want my kids around me. I want my kids to be around me. And that was like this chapter that we're growing into. Unfortunately for her, as we're there now she's spreading her wings, but it's hard for me to, like, I want my kids. Where are we? She's been gone all day. Like, we're tracking her. Like, what's going on? Like, and she's like, Dad, I'm just shopping. I'm like, okay. So, but it's just that's how it should be. You should come home and not even your kids aren't even on your thought process. You're not. I walk the door. Where's everybody?
Yeah. Oh, I'm saying, wait. I'm like, hey, now, dude. As soon as I walk in the door, I demand a hug and kiss from every single one of my family members. Mm-hmm. I don't care if you're having a bad day. Give me a kiss. Give me a hug. Mm-hmm. Give me some love. Mm-hmm. And guess what? If not, then I'll force myself on you.
Love. Give me love. I don't have to with her. She's my little love bug. I just use all day. The little one, she's at that little phase, like, she's just, she's still my little baby girl, and I don't ever want it to change. But where's everybody? I'll walk in. Where are the kids? And she's like, oh, so sis is upstairs editing. Kake's selling a bag or something. I'm like, all right, cool. I just want to know. But there was a phase where I'd walk in and just,
they're not themselves.
I'm on my little path through my house, and then now they're reacting to me. It's like, dude, what a douchebag.
What are you doing? Yeah, exactly.
What a douche. And then these guys,
and you allow them to be themselves. They're trying to be somebody else so they can appease you. So they can make you happy. They want to make sure you're like, what kind of selfish asshole am I? If it's all revolved around me. I had a bad
I'm
day.
The provider.
Yeah,
I'm the dad of the house.
Yeah. No,
they revolve around my wife and kids.
Yes.
She's the dude, gave birth to the most incredible kids on the planet.
Oh man.
Puts up with all my bullshit, our years of just me being a piece of shit. I want this to revolve around me.
Yeah, that's selfish, man. But a lot of cops don't realize that, because it's like, hey, listen to me. What I do, my profession, because of what I do, that makes me more important than everybody else.
Wrong. No one cares except for you.
Right.
No one cares.
Right. And when you take yourself out of yourself, you take yourself out of your own mind and understand that, hey, there's other people in this world that rely on you. There's other people. You're not the only one who has stress. You're not the only one who needs help, dude. Your kids also have bad days at school. Your kids also go through their fair share of problems. Your wife, dude, I think we don't give enough credit to. I didn't give enough credit to my wife for the longest time.
Let's talk about it real quick. We got a few minutes before I got to get you out of here.
Okay.
How incredible is your wife?
Oh my gosh, dude, baby, I love you so much. Where's your camera? Love you. Oh, dude. I'll tell you right now, Brian, and I know every guy says this that loves his wife, but I truly have the best wife in the world, dude.
I love hearing
for
that.
her to put up with me for so many years, and for her to she's the one that takes care of the family. She's the one that schedules our vacations.
Yep.
She's the one that, dude, she works full time, and she's an excellent cook, takes care of our children. Fucking smoking hot. I'm not gonna lie, dude. Like, I'm like, how the hell? Like, what the hell? Like, little me, like shit.
Yep.
And she does all of that without complaining.
Never says a word.
And never says a word.
And not to
Works
mention
inside.
raising children. Granted, they're all teenagers now, but not. I mean, your young is same
12.
age as mine. But dude, in the early baby stage, and they're doing it all with a baby on their hip.
And she gave me 4 beautiful children, bro.
And we don't ever appreciate it until it's too late.
I was the night before I flew out here, man. She was in bed. She was turned away from me. She was sleeping, and I was just rubbing her back, dude. And I'm just like so thankful. And sometimes it's so hard. It was so hard for me to warm up and just tell her how I feel, and being able to open up to her and express my emotions and be vulnerable was so hard. Was so hard, man. Because you always try to maintain that.
But once you do,
oh my gosh,
you connect on such a more intimate level. That's why I feel praying with your spouse is.
Oh, I love praying with my wife, dude.
It'll change you as a couple.
Yeah.
Even if you're not even religious or baby Christians or old Christians, and I have to do it much better. Even just laying in bed, we'll just lay next to each other like we're.
Oh, yep.
And just to be able to voice your most vulnerable thoughts, where you're struggling, where you feel everything that's going on, you're able to just talk and your spouse can hear it, and vice versa.
With no judgment.
Dude, I'll bawl my eyes out when I pray with my wife. Just bawl. Just because I'm able to be vulnerable with her. And then when you could show your wife that level of vulnerability, I don't know what it is. It just turns them on, man. They see this
this different
that's
side
a
of
man
you.
to them, vulnerable. You could be a
Yeah.
gardener or a warrior in a garden kind of deal. And it's just, you don't need to be hard.
Gentle warrior.
Yeah, you don't need to be hard. You don't need to be this calloused vet, callous cop. Like, cool, bro. Cool.
Yeah.
You're a tough dude. You
Cool
ran
dude,
SWAT
yeah.
for 20 years. You're undercover. You arrested this. Cool.
Yeah. So what?
Who gives a fuck?
Yeah. Yeah.
When I talk to her, how's your relationship with your wife? Oh, bro, my best friend. Cool. I could kick it with this dude
You know what's funny? That's a conversation I'd rather have. Don't talk to me
all
about work.
day.
Like when that's why I really don't have a lot of work buddies, maybe a handful.
Yeah.
But it's like, hey, I don't want to talk about that, dude.
Mhm.
Like, hey, how's your wife? How's your kids?
Mhm.
Like, how was your weekend?
That's
How's
the
your
phase I'm
vacation?
at now.
Yeah.
I listen to how men speak about their wives and their children. If there's like, oh God, dude, 2 more years out of the house. I'm like, yeah, not my cup of tea.
No. It's funny. Right before we started this podcast, I was texting my daughter, man, and I'm like, I can't. We have a family chat, and I'm like, I love you guys so much.
Yeah.
And I was texting my daughter. I was like, I just want to let you know, I am blessed. I am truly freaking, like, there is nothing that I lack. I am blessed because I have your love, and you guys have my love. And there's nothing more that I want.
What else do you need?
I don't need anything. I'm happy.
What else do you
I'm
need?
happy, bro. Like, yeah, would I like $1 million? Yeah, of course. You know what I mean? But I'm happy. Like, it's like there's nothing that I lack in my life. God has blessed me, and I don't know how I deserve this, and all I can say is thank you. But man, like when I
Got
look,
your
I'm
health.
like, damn, I got my health, man. I got my health.
Got your
My
wife.
mind
got your
is
kids.
right. Not perfect, right? I have my struggles.
Never is.
But I think now I know how to process things,
Mhm.
right? I know how to separate things now. And I know how to work on myself. I'm not afraid to say that, shit, I love self-improvement. I'm not afraid to do that. And I'm a student of self-improvement all the
day.
time because I want a better life.
Is this little incident going to ruin the whole day for me?
Is it a tragedy or is it an inconvenience? That's
Can we bounce back from this? Is this that important that it's going to ruin my... That was a big thing I have to ask myself all the time. My wife would be like, what's wrong? I'd be like, nothing. She'd be like, no, motherfucker. Like, what? No, absolutely
My
not.
wife is the same way.
Well, like, you know, because I don't nothing. And then, 4 or 5 hours later, I snap at something. I'm irritable. Okay, yeah, no. Now it's, no. You don't just get to act like this. And then I start backtracking my day, dude. It'll lead to some political comment or video, and I'm watching all our politicians diddle children, and somebody says some stupid shit on it's just, and then it'll trigger, it's just a little fester, and it's like, now it's like, oh yeah,
Whatever. I don't give a crap what anybody
is that
thinks
important
about
to me? Then I'm gonna let that ruin this. I'm gonna let that ruin what I have downstairs.
And that's a moment too that I realized that my life changed when I stopped giving a shit about what anybody thought about me. Like, hey, I care what my family thinks about me, but other than that, I really don't care.
You ain't feeding me, paying me,
I like this.
intimate with me. You're not bringing anything spiritually to my mind. You're not helping me grow in any way. Gone.
Yeah.
Dude, that is what I live my life by. When I meet other men, and my wife and I have a joke that our friend application has been closed for a long time because just people suck, But
Yeah.
so as far as getting really close with people, like that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
But as far as men inside my circle that I can associate with, those are my checklists. Is this just guy bitching about everything, bitching about his family? But I'll help and I'll mentor all day. But as far as getting inside my circle, if you're not providing that shit financially, you're not helping my mind grow, you're not helping my business grow, we're not working on something to better ourselves. Why does that person deserve 1 ounce of my attention if they're not bettering me?
Right.
What's the point? Truly ask yourself that. This group of dudes that I went through the military with or been around for 15 years, cool. Next time you start hanging out with these guys and they're just talking bullshit and just rehashing stuff, more drama, more stuff.
Gossip. I don't deal with that.
Dude, and then you start shrinking that circle to people like, oh yeah, I could do business with this guy. I could kick it with this guy, whatever it may be. Then you watch, like, I got a buddy I call, and every time I call that dude, it is something in his life.
Oh, I can't.
I'm always like, bro, you got so much drama. He's like, I don't have any drama. I'm like, dude, every conversation we have, this guy this guy's wife this guy's got caught up now. This dude's just got caught going to whatever. And I'm sitting here, I go, I don't have any of that in my life. I have some buddies that are involved in industries, and I'm not in those industries, so they get to tell me some cool things.
So you get to hear.
So I get to hear stuff, but it's not like they're unloading on me. They just get to be like, bro, oh my God, let me fill you in on this.
Yeah.
But those are guys that I'm doing business with, and they're also helping me grow in other areas. And then it's like, I like to, it's human nature to be able to hear a couple things, but we go right on track. But it's just like, if that person's in your life and you're not providing anything except for drama, gossip, heartache, they're draining you in certain ways, they're asking for certain things, not providing anything to you. That's where it's like, okay, how much of my day can I spread my energy through? And does that person deserve it over my kids? Does that person deserve it over that time that I could be spending with my wife?
No, because all that is going to do is it's going to get you sucked into it, and we're human beings. And how do you feel after that conversation? Feel horrible.
If you're not,
feel like life got sucked out of you.
I'll meet with guys that I have in my circle now, and do I leave there like, holy shit, I'll have. Dude, I'm calling the wife on the way home. You would not believe. But then you have those other circles of guys where you just ride home. You're like, okay, cool. Like if you're not leaving your circle of who's in, or leaving from who's in your circle better, or with more knowledge, or with a better idea, or a direction to take something, those aren't your people.
Or you have something of value too.
At the end of the day, I guess that's the most simplest way to put it. Look at every single person in your circle. If they are not bringing some sort of value, positive value to your life, why are you giving them your energy? Because they're a friend, I cut people out of my life that I've been in my life 10, 15, 20 years. I cut them out. My wife's like, I haven't seen you talk to so-and-so. I'm like, why? Every time it's something negative. It's bitching about something. Like, hey, now this has happened to him. And it's not that I don't like the person. I'm just not going to give that person my energy.
Right.
And then guess what happens? Now I have more
for your family.
For my family.
Beautiful.
I didn't waste 4 hours talking to this guy over all the dumb shit that he's been doing the last 5 years and won't change. Not my problem, bro. You're going through another divorce. Not my problem.
You're not bringing me down with you,
dude. And that does, dude. And they do. Yeah.
And I used to not think that way, because now, like, I conserve my energy now. I feel like there's people who can suck it out of you, and there's people who actually fill your cup.
Yep.
And I'm very selective too with who I speak with, because I'm like, hey, this guy is going to talk positive. You know, he's gonna add value. He doesn't gossip. He loves his family. He loves his life. He's not, woe is me. He's not a victim. Those are the guys, and they're real with you. They're honest.
Ones that'll check you.
Ones that'll check you and be like, hey, listen, dude, in a loving way that's, hey, dude, like, hey, this is what you did. This is what, hey, hey, you know what, dude? You're actually talking to me like this because you love me.
Yeah.
Even if it sucks, yeah, dude, my
Gotta hear
ego
it.
sting a little bit, but I got to hear that. Whereas somebody's just gossiping about somebody else, and then you're thinking in the back of your mind, like, hey, you just talked all this shit
On one of your boys.
on one of your boys. What makes me think that when I leave, that you're not going to do that to me? Come on, dude.
It's happening.
I'm not dumb. Like,
Real quick, last question, because I got to get you out of here. For all the young cops, for all the cops that have been in at any time, I guess for all just cops in general, what would be your one major takeaway piece of advice that you would like for them to hear?
it's going to be very simple, but that's why I love it. Your identity is not being a cop.
Say that again for everybody in the back.
Your identity is not tied to being a police officer. Your identity is not your badge. It's not your gun. It's not your uniform.
Titles, positions, rank,
position, your accolades, awards,
medals,
any of that. And the sooner that you realize that, the better your life will get.
the
quality. And your job, I'm sorry, but you put your emotions aside, you put your value or you put your beliefs aside, and you have to sit there and serve and protect even people who don't like you.
Yep. That's how you have to look at it.
And you got to do it with love. I'm sorry, man. Even if you don't believe in them and they don't believe in you, your job is not to take sides. Your job is not to take certain positions because they have a different political view than you do. Your job is to protect.
Yep. That's
it.
all it should be. Well, dude, I really appreciate this. It's a great conversation. I want to have your wife on the show. She's dispatch and has dealt with your shit for 19 years as a cop. So I would like to chat with her.
For
I
sure.
love just getting a different perspective, but
Yeah.
I really appreciate this, dude. It's a great conversation, just different. It was just a lot of cops have different, they're so scorned or whatever, maybe with whatever their past is, and some guys love it, some hate it. But this is a different perspective. I'm glad that you had that reality check. Took a little bit, but it happened, and that's the biggest win. Is that you got to process yourself, start working on yourself with your family, putting your family first, and I wish every man figured that phase out much earlier in life. I didn't. Took me a long time of fucking things up and almost losing my family several times and losing my relationship with my children because of my anger and the tough guy shit that I thought mattered. Check yourself. Really look in the mirror and see what's important in life. Is it the badge? Is it this position? Is it the title? Or is it this family that is going to be there or not be there when you need them?
Right.
Thanks, dude.
Brian, thanks for having me.
Love this conversation, man. Thank
God
you.
is good, man. Thank you.
God
Absolutely.
is great.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for this.
Yeah.
It was great.